So hi, good evening. So without wasting time, start करते हैं. कुछ topics ज़्यादा हैं, तो let's start with the philosophy बचा हुआ था, ठीक है? So philosophy. So लिखूंगा नहीं because n number of the topics are there. I'm just so orthodox philosophy and heterodox philosophy. And as far as these two philosophies are concerned, so what is the basis of the division? Division is only that one is called as astika, another is called as nastika. Astika does not mean belief in God, and nastika does not mean non-belief in God. But in fact, it is related to in the realm of the philosophy. It is related to what? Belief in Vedas and non-belief in Vedas. So astika, belief in Vedas, and those who rejected the Veda as a divine authority is the Nastika. So this is what is the division. Then in Astika, what all are there? So Sad Darshan, and Shad Darshan includes, okay, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Mimamsa and Vedanta. And on the other side, Buddhism, Jainism, in heterodox Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivika and Charvak. So Sankhya philosophy, one of the oldest philosophy. And as far as the Sankhya philosophy, its development happened in the two phases. And in all the philosophies, generally we talk about the origin of the universe. So Sankhya philosophy, what it has to say about the origin of the universe. Sankhya philosophy, in the beginning, it said that universe owes its origin to the elements of the nature. It's exactly similar what is there in the Buddhism and Jainism. But then later Sankhya philosophy, which developed by 4th century AD, maintained that universe owes its origin to both Purush and Prakriti. So Prakriti is the element of the nature, but what is Purush? So consciousness. Then it is not a divine thing that they are mentioning. It is just a consciousness. And since they are talking about the two realities, it is also called as Dvaitavad. Then when it comes to the attainment of the salvation, so they say that it is the real knowledge which leads to the salvation. And what is real knowledge? The true recognition of the Purush and Prakriti. Then how come real knowledge be obtained? So through three pramanas, and these pramanas are Pratyaksha, Anuman and Shabda. So Pratyaksha is the perception, Anuman is the inference, and Shabda is the testimony. And in reality, what is testimony? Vedas. So in all the 6 philosophical schools, those who believe in the Veda, so Shabda is the Ved only. कि जो knowledge कहीं नहीं मिले वो वेद में होगा. So that is about the Sankhya philosophy, and its initial founder was the Kapil Muni. Then comes the Yoga philosophy. So Yoga philosophy is considered as a yugma of the Sankhya. We have mentioned it earlier also, that yugma meaning pair philosophy, meaning yoga accepts the Purush Prakriti concepts of the Sankhya. But then yoga philosophy is mainly related to the discipline of body and mind. Then attaining salvation through their discipline only. So what it talks about, what it prescribes Ashtanga Yoga. And what comes under the Ashtanga Yoga? Yama, Niyama, okay? Do's and don'ts. Then asanas, so different physical postures. Then pranayam, breathing exercises. Then after pranayam, pratyahar, different type of the restraints. Then dharad, dhyana, samadhi. So dharad is selecting an object for the concentration. Then dhyana, concentrating on the object, and samadhi is entering into the deep meditation. Then we also had a discussion in the classes that one of the stage in this samadhi is the Kundalini Jagrada. And in the Kundalini Jagrada, the Mooladhara Chakra, which is the navel point of the body, it gets activated, and energy of the body, entire body becomes synonymous to the energy of the universe. So that is about the second philosophy, and it was proposed by Patanjali. Then the third philosophy, Nyaya Vaiseshika, third and fourth, Nyaya Vaiseshika, they are considered as a yugma because they both emphasize on the logic. Then let's come to the theory of the Nyaya first. So Nyaya is regarded as the school of logic, and moreover what Nyaya says. Then so school of logic, Nyaya says that salvation can be attained through valid knowledge. Real knowledge is not enough, and it can be attained to valid knowledge. Valid knowledge is the one which is based in the which can be attained through the 4 pramanas. And what are the 4 pramanas? So Pratyaksha, Anuman, Upaman, and Shabda. So only one additional thing has been added at the third place, Upaman. What is Upaman? Comparative knowledge. Now they give a very famous proposition where there is a smoke, there is a fire. So jahan kahin bhi smoke hai, there would be fire. But then with the comparative knowledge, it has to be confirmed that what has been seen as a smoke, it must be smoke. It must not be look alike of the smoke. Then only one can confirm that there is a fire. So for example, there could be many lookalikes of the smoke like smog, fog, mist, ठीक है? तो वो नहीं होना चाहिए, ठीक है? So that comes with the comparative knowledge, that knowledge. So this is what they are saying, that they are emphasizing on the logic. Then comes the next part. After the logic part is the after this Nyaya part is the Vaisesika. Vaisesika was propounded by Kannad, but whose original name was Aulukya, and he was given the name Kadad, actually Kadad. So Kadad because he was interested in the study of the particle Kada. Then so Kada. Then let's further talk about it. This philosophy is considered as the formal beginning of the school of physics in India, and what they have talked in this particular part. So they say that universe is atomic in nature. Every substance, every object in the universe is made up of atom. And what is atom? Atom is the smallest indivisible, indestructible part of the universe. So, smallest indivisible, indestructible part of the universe, though they are inactive in themselves, but they are put into the motion by God's will. Then, so this is how they come very closer to the modern day physics, or in fact, modern day physics inspires from this particular concept and further builds on. So, this is the school of philosophy, and atomic school of philosophy, and then it says that this atomic recognition of the universe itself, that is one such great knowledge which leads to the salvation. Then comes the last two philosophy, Mimans and Vedanta. Mimans is called as Purva Mimans and Vedanta is called as Uttar Mimans. Okay? Both are Mimans, meaning that both are reflections. And reflections on what? So reflections on Ved. So reflections on Ved, reflection that particularly Mimans or Purva Mimans is reflection on the early part of the Ved, and Vedant would be the reflection on the later part of the Ved. So both are a yugma. Let's talk about the very first one, Purva Mimans. The initial founder was Jaimini, then, and moreover what they talk about, so they emphasize on the performance of the rituals which are mentioned, or which rituals? Vedic rituals, which are mentioned in the initial parts of the Veda. According to them, performance of these rituals itself will lead to the salvation. And moreover, they further say, they are the one who came with the concept of the Swarga, heaven. So they say that accumulation of the good deed results into Swarga, which is a temporary bliss. And after that particularly temporary duration is over, so then one will be born again, and then one will have to seek for the permanent salvation. Moreover, they also emphasized on the importance of the priestly class who will be guiding in the Vedic rituals. Then comes the Vedanta philosophy. Vedanta is also called as Uttar Mimamsa, meaning that later reflections on the Veda. Meaning of the word Vedanta is the Ved ka ant, meaning that end of the Vedic discussion. So in Vedanta, many such streams emerged. Okay? So all the other philosophies which emerge in the later part, and after, we can say that from the 8th century AD onwards, everything is kept under this category. And since these are the last discussions, so there are many streams. Philosophy optional people read about 8 to 9 streams, but here we are going to talk about the two popular versions of the Vedanta. The very first one is the Visishta Advaitavad by Sankaracharya. And Visishta Advaitavad by Sankaracharya, so what he has to say. Sankaracharya was the 8th century AD saint who was born in the state of Kerala. And apart from this philosophy contribution, he is also attributed with founding the 4 math in India. These math are, one is Sringeri, one is Dwarka, another is Jagannath Puri, and the other is the Jyotir Math in Uttarakhand. Okay? Not Joshi Math, it is Jyotir Math. So these 4 math he created, but then let's come to the philosophy part. So what Sankaracharya has to say, that his philosophy is about one reality. then what he is maintaining, there is no difference between the creator and the created. भगवान और इंसान के बीच में कोई difference नहीं है. So there is no difference between the creator and the created, but the difference that we perceive, meaning that we human beings, what difference we perceive, it is only because of our ignorance. And what is ignorance? Ajnanata. So this ajnanata can be eliminated. This ignorance can be eliminated by embarking on the path of the knowledge. Then, and moreover, he popularized one of the famous Mahavakya which is mentioned in the Upanishad. He never gave this particular Vakya. He popularized this Vakya. And what is the Vakya? Aham Brahmasmi. Okay? So Aham Brahmasmi, मैं ही. Generally people say that ki मैं ही Brahma हूँ. It is not the right translation. I am not the Brahma. Actually the translation is that I am so immersed in the God that I can see the God in myself, and then I am inside the God. Then, so that is the meaning, that Aham Brahmasmi. So now I am able to see the real thing, that I am the part of the God and God is the part of me. So that is the meaning of it. But then we take into the other connotations that Aham Brahmasmi ki mujhe main hi Brahma hu. So now let's come to the next part. Visishta Advait, sorry, I wrongly mentioned. Advaitavad was the Sankaracharya and Visishta Advaitavad is the Ramanujacharya. So Advaitavad meaning one reality, and that one reality, that was the Brahma, and we are one with the Brahma. Then Visishta Advaitavad of the Ramanujacharya, he says that God has some special attributes. Visishta ka matlab special. So special attributes, and these special attributes are different from the human beings. But then human beings can become one with the God. And how they can become one with the God? By embarking on the path of the bhakti. And when they are embarking on the path of the bhakti or devotion, so then the difference between the human beings and the special attributes of the God will be eliminated. They will become one. Then, so he emphasized on the bhakti marg. Moreover, Ramanujacharya was the one of the biggest proponent of the bhakti tradition in India. So this is what is about the philosophy of the orthodox category. Let's come to the heterodox. Heterodox mein what all things are there? So heterodox mein Buddhism, Jainism, already 5 parts we have mentioned. And let's come to the Charvak and Ajivika. So Charvak was founded by Charvak. This philosophy was also called as Lokayat, meaning very popular among the masses. And it was a materialistic school of philosophy which doesn't talks about the spiritualism, but only what material gain and happiness one can get on the planet Earth. Then they reject God, they reject Veda, they reject rebirth, they reject these all concepts, take a salvation. And then they say that there is only one means of knowledge, and in their own proposition they say pratyaksham kim pramadam, meaning that perception is the only means of knowledge. And in fact they always believe in the maximization of the pleasure. So for that they gave a very famous proposition: yavat jivet sukham jivet ridam kritva ghritam pribet bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragaman kuto, meaning that till the time one is alive, one must try to maximize its pleasures, okay, their happiness, even if it takes to take a loan from somebody, take it. And after all, after the death, who has seen that once the body is cremated, so there would be any returning back. So this is their philosophy. They believe in the maximization of the pleasure. Then comes the nihilist philosophy. And what is it? Ajivika. And the name of their philosophy is Niyativad. Niyativad ka matlab hota hai theory of the destiny. So now they believe that what is written in the destiny one cannot change. So first of all, they also reject the theory of salvation. Okay? So they also reject the theory of salvation as a fallacy to make people fool of it. Then after, as far as their philosophy is concerned, then so they say that there is no free will. There is no free will. If there would be free will, so you can change the things. But then since there is no free will, so you cannot change the things. Then they say whatever that has happened is happening, will happen. One cannot change it. So जो हो रहा है वो हो चुका है वो होता रहेगा तुम उसे बदल नहीं सकते. It's a very negative philosophy. Then so this is what they adopted. But then there is another part of it that they were very contradictory in many of their concepts. Then and there was no such coherency in their philosophy. So that was one of the reasons that Ajivika did not survive for a longer period of time. So in today's time, how come we get to know about the Ajivika philosophy? It is only through the Jain literature. Their own literature has been lost. So it's only through the dance literature we get to know about the Ajivika philosophy. And who was the founder? Makhali Putta Gosala, who was contemporary of the Mahavir. So that's about the philosophy part. Now after philosophy, I'm rapidly I'm going to the Indian classical dances. Last year कोई question था Indian classical dance? I don't think. There wasn't one. Last year नहीं था. In 2023 there was no question. And I believe मुझे मतलब पक्का यकीन है कि कम से कम last year से तो paper easy होगा इस बार. ठीक है? Definitely it will be easy. नहीं तो पता चले कि ऐसे कट ऑफ नीचे जा रहा है that even the cut off will be 60 marks. Fail होने पे pass हो गए. This will be the contradiction. So that UPSC will not let happen. So पेपर थोड़ा सा तो इजी होगा. एंड जो लोग आज क्लास नहीं आए हैं, ठीक है, वो लोग कल्चर रिवाइज कर लेंगे. मार्क माय वर्ड, देयर वुड बी एन नंबर ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम द कल्चर दिस ईयर. ठीक है, तो लेट्स गो बैक टू इट द थिंग. एंड लास्ट मोमेंट पे देख, अच्छा व्हेन इज द लोकसभा रिजल्ट्स? 4th को है? 1st को तो लास्ट चुनाव है. 4th जून. तो रिजल्ट्स अगर जो आ गए तो हो सकता है कि पूरा पेपर ही रिजल्ट्स पे डिपेंड होगा. पूरा पेपर कल्चर भी हो सकता है, तो देख लेना तुम लोग. ठीक है, तो सो नाउ लिसन. सो रिलीजन एंड फिलोसफी हो गया. नाउ इंडियन क्लासिकल डांसेस. सो क्लासिकल डांसेस, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द क्लासिक दैट डांसेस ऑफ इंडिया, वी ट्रेस द ट्रेडिशन टू द Vedic period itself. Then, and in fact, in the Vedic times also, that there was this particular tradition of the music, and some music was there. Dance, I'm not saying as per se, but then from the Vedic text itself, majority of the rituals, okay, of the Hinduism has been derived. Then, so now further come to the first treatise. So first treatise on dance, drama and music was Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. And the story which Bharat Muni has written in the Natya Shastra, in the introduction part, what he said, that he created this particular text as the 5th Veda on the request of the Lord Brahma. And how he created, so he has mentioned that he took Pathya, that is words from the Rig Veda. Then he took Abhinay from the Yajurveda, Geet from the Sam Veda, and Ras, that is emotions, from the Atharva Veda. And that's how he created the 5th Veda, Natya Veda. Then as far as the Natya Veda concepts are concerned, so or basically Natya Shastra is concerned, he has mentioned 2 aspects of the dance. Then, so what are the 2 aspects of the dance? Lashya and Tandav. So what is Lashya? Lashya is the feminine aspect of the dance, characterized by the soft and beautiful movement, very profound and graceful expression. Then, so these would be there. Then Tandav. So first mythological example of the Lashya is the goddess Parvati's dance. And so as the Lashya dance was prevalent in the Apsara Lok itself. Okay? The celestial nymphs of the Indra Lok, Urvasi, Rambha, Menaka. Okay? So they are some of the initial mythological proponents of it. Then Tandav. So Tandav, as it believed that the art, since the Lord Brahma is the creator, he creates everything. When he created the art, so he passed on to his disciple Tandu. And from the Tandu, who learnt it? Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is the first deity who performed it. Then, what is this dance? So this dance is considered as the dance of the destruction, so as the reconstruction. His destruction part is considered as Bhairav Tandav, and reconstruction part is the Ananda Tandav. Then apart from it, how it is that generally in the dance forms, how it is characterized. So it is characterized through aggression and fast movement. So aggression and fast movement and determination. So aggression, fast movement and determination, that would be the feature of the Tandav. One more thing has to be taken care of, that Tandav can be done by the females also, and Lashya can be done by the males also. While doing it, they will have to stick to the characteristic. So for example, that when we are going to talk about the Kathak. So Kathak is done by both males. In fact, all the classical dances. So many Lashya parts are done by the males also. And whenever we talk about that Mahishasur Mardini, that Kali Tandav, okay, Durga Tandav, okay. So that is what? Tandav itself, but then done by the females only. So it can be done by both. Then there are 3 elements of the dance. What are these? That Nritta, Natya and Nritya. So Nrita is a pure dance movement, Natya is the dramatic expression, and Nritya is the combination of the both, expression plus dance, and it is the real dance which is Nritya. Then Abhinay Darpan, written by Nandikeshwar, has further mentioned about this particular thing, which is elaboration of the emotions or ras. So he has mentioned about the 9 ras which can be incorporated in the dance. So what are the 9 ras? Shringar, Veer, Hashya, Adbhut, Raudra, Bhayanak, Vibhats, Karunya and Sant. So these are the ras, 9 emotions which has been mentioned. Then different type of emotions. Then let's come to the evolution of each and every dance form. So oldest classical dance form of India is the Bharatnatyam. Then, and Bharatnatyam derives its name from the Bharat Muni. Then, in fact, there is one more meaning of this name, that is the Bhava Raga Tala Natyam. Then apart from it, how it started? It started with the Devadasi system of Tamil Nadu temples, whereby the young girls were donated to the temples. Young girls were donated to the temple and they were symbolically married to the main god of the temple, and they were supposed to live their life, spend their life entirely in the temple itself by serving the god. So there is no returning back to their original home. And moreover, so this is how it all started. But then during the that late medieval ages, or particularly the British period, there were large number of the cases which were noted down that there was a sexual exploitation of the Devadasis in the yard of the system. So many campaigns were there, and in fact, you must have seen that through these campaigns, some places these sexual exploitations were there. But then one more thing is to be kept in mind, that not all the temples were involved like this. Not all the places it was like this. But British started a campaign because it was an excuse, pretext you can say, through which they can suppress many such religious features of the India, or cultural features of India. So for example, that when we talk about these all classical forms, many of you must be well versed about the Kathak, or kuch logo ko aata bhi hoga ye dance then. But then if you read the history of the Kathak, okay, so in fact the exponents of the Kathak were also the patriots, okay, and many a times they were also suppressed just because they were patriots, and British used to call them Nach girls. Then have you heard this word, Nach girls? Nach is the Hindi word, and they used to call it Nach girls. Then, and then in fact Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Lucknow, he was deported to Lucknow, okay? He was deported from Lucknow to Calcutta just because of it, okay? Not just because of it, because he was a patriot also, and at the same point of time they got excuse that he promotes Thumri and Kathak. So actually one of the intention of the British authority was to suppress this arts also. And moreover, rightly depicted in the that not everything I would say is in the right depiction, but some dramatic aspects are there. But then I would just confirm one part. One of the right depiction in the Hira Mandi is that the Tawayafs of this country, they contributed towards, financially they contributed towards the freedom struggle. That's the right part, and their contribution has been lost in translation many a times. Then in fact what we have discussed n number of the time in the in many places in the stories, courtesans. So courtesans are, the meaning of the word is Tawayaf, okay? And these were created with the royal patronage. I think in one of the class I mentioned the difference between the two, so I'm not going into it. But Kathak and Thumri is completely its origin is completely associated with those Tawayaf houses which were created by the rulers. So let's come to this part. First of all, what Bharatnatyam we were talking about. So now British started to suppress it, and when its suppression was happening, so at that point of time in 1940s, it was E. Krishna Iyer who was a freedom fighter, and he rescued the dance form, and without any Devadasi system he started to patronize it in the Guru Shishya Parampara, and that's how it survived. After the independence of India, it is the performance of the Rukmini Devi Arundel which gave global recognition to the Bharatnatyam. Then let's come to the features of the Bharatnatyam. Bharatnatyam feature, it is often referred as the fire dance because the poses of the dancers very much resemble to the dancing flame. Then apart from it, Bharatnatyam. So it is a very strict form of dance where the steps are already decided and there is a sequence of the step. So it all starts with the Alaripu. Okay? So Alaripu is the invocation of the god to seek his blessing. Then Alaripu is followed by Jatishwaram. Okay? Jatishwaram followed by Shabdam. So Jatishwaram is the pure dance movement. Then comes Shabdam. Shabdam lyrics. Then Abhinay will start from the Shabdam. Then Vardam, further elaboration of the Abhinay. Then after Vardaram, Padam. So Padam is they depict mastery in the Abhinay. And then comes Javali and Tillana. What is Javali? Javali is the highly energetic performance on the short love lyrics. And the Tillana is the joyous and exuberant movement symbolizing temporary salvation. So this is what is about the steps. Then Katak Mukha Hasta is the most important mudra in the Bharatnatyam. But understand, if they say कि कटक मुख हस्त मुद्रा is also depicted in the Odissi, Mohiniyattam and Manipuri. Will it be wrong or right? It will be right. ठीक है? हम यहाँ पे what we are talking about? We are saying that कि it is most often depicted mudra in the Bharatnatyam. That does not mean that it is not used other places. It is according to the principles of the Natya Shastra. So since these are mudras are according to the principles of Natya Shastra, so generally it will be there in all the classical forms. Okay? So what is Katak Mukha Hasta? These three fingers are joined to symbolize the universal sound Om. Okay? So universal sound Om. Then let's come to the next part after it. So generally it was a group performance which was initiated by the females, but then nowadays males also perform Bharatnatyam. And the solo performances are also there. So for example, Ekacharya Lashyam is the solo performance in which one single dancer takes up the role of many people. Then apart from it, the mantra recitation is also the part of many Bharatnatyam performances, and this mantra recitation is done by a person who is known as Natu Vanar. Okay? So Natu Vanar. Then which music is used? Carnatic classical music is used during the performance. So Carnatic classical music is used during the performance, and then famous proponents. So famous proponents, dekho, whoever is in the news, they comes to the their probability of they being asked in the exam increases. So for example, Mohiniyattam mein we will be talking about the Vaijayanti Mala. Last day only, kal hi she was awarded Padma Shri. Okay? So she was awarded, announcement was done, and in fact, Prime Minister also went to the home of Vaijayanti Mala. You must have heard about Vaijayanti Mala. She was one of the famous Bollywood actress who was known for that song, Hoto Mein Aisi Baat, Main Daba Ke Chali Aayi. But she is Mohiniyattam. She started her career with the Mohiniyattam. And in fact, even Hema Malini also started her career with the Mohiniyattam. So let's come to the next dance form. After it was the Kuchipudi. Kuchipudi, as the name, it derives its name from the Andhra village of Kuchelapuram. Okay? So Andhra village of Kuchelapuram, and moreover, if you are sleepy, so you can have a little bit of water. Okay? So that's actually distracting for me. And मैं अगले साल से QRM नहीं लूँगा actually, because this is actually a roller coaster kind of thing. But अगर जो मैं नहीं लूँगा तो कोई ले भी नहीं सकता है. So और 3 क्लासेस में ख़त्म भी नहीं हो सकता है, बिकॉज हेल्प चाहिए लोगों को पढ़ने के लिए. तो आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग इट इन अ स्टोरी फॉर्मेट कि 3 दिन के अंदर एवरीथिंग इज कंप्लीटेड. तो थोड़ा अपने एंड से अटेंटिव रहो, एंड भगवान न करे कि लास्ट ईयर QRM में बैठना पड़े, नेक्स्ट ईयर QRM में बैठना पड़े. इसी ईयर कर लो, जाओ यहाँ से, दिल्ली छोड़ो. सो दिल्ली चलो था ना पहले, तो नाउ इट वुड बी दिल्ली छोड़ो. ठीक है? So let's come back to this part. So Kuchipudi derives its name from the Andhra village of the Kuchelapuram. Okay? And moreover, this village had a group of male dancers who were called as Kuselavas. So they performed on the Hindu religious theme. They were a moving troupe, moving from one place to another place. And then later on, what happened that during the Neo-Vaishnavite period, the dance form was monopolized by the male Brahmins of the village. And these male Brahmins started to perform on the theme of the Bhagavad Puran, and they came to be known as Bhagavatalu. So this is how the patronage to this dance form started. In fact, it was patronized by both Vijayanagar and Golconda rulers. So Vijayanagar and Golconda rulers. Then, moreover, in the modern times, it was further popularized by Ragini Devi and Bala Saraswati. But it is to be noted that Ragini Devi and Bala Saraswati were originally a Bharatnatyam dancer. Okay? But then they further popularized the Kuchipudi. Then let's talk about the features of the Kuchipudi. So it is originally, in the beginning, it was performed by the males, but it is no more a male preserve. It is performed by the females also. अब कोई भी ऐसा डांस, क्लासिकल डांस नहीं बचा है जिसमें फीमेल प्रिजर्व हो या मेल प्रिजर्व हो. द लास्ट वॉज द मोहिनी अट्टम, जो अभी तक फीमेल प्रिजर्व था. पिछले महीने का ही न्यूज़ है, आई होप यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड अबाउट, कि केरला कला मंडलम अलाउड मेल्स टू परफॉर्म मोहिनी अट्टम. और 2022 का न्यूज़ है दैट केरला कला मंडलम अलाउड फीमेल्स टू परफॉर्म Kathakali, which was a male preserve. ठीक है, तो now all the dance forms are done by both males and females. So question आएगा तो be assured about it. So let's come to the features of the Kuchipudi. So Kuchipudi, first of all, so when it comes to that features, the Kuchipudi performance starts with that step which is called as Daru. In Daru, one by one, all the actors or all the dancers will be entering to the stage. They will be giving a small piece of performance and introducing their character in the dance. And then finally, when they are collectively there, so then they invoke the god for their blessings. Okay? And then they will start the performance. Then other thing, Kuchipudi dance depicts the element of the earth. And it is mainly depicted through the stories which they are incorporating in the dance. So for example, Shringar Ras plays a very important role, and often the themes on the planet Earth related to the Shringar Ras are depicted. One of the very popular theme is the Bhama Kalapam, okay, which was written by Siddhendra Yogi. This is the story which is based on the jealous wife of the Lord Krishna, Satyabhama. And that's how she has given a curse to the Lord Krishna that he will become the charioteer or Sarathi of the Arjuna. So that's how this particular story is depicted. Apart from it, many such religious stories, for example, even the Lord Krishna's affair with the Gopikas are also a famous theme of this particular Kuchipudi. Then the important part of the Kuchipudi is basically the solo performances in the Kuchipudi, which are known as Tarangam, Talachitra Natyam and Manduk Shabdam. Manduk Shabdam, they tell a story of a frog. Tarangam, they keep their toes on the edges of a brass plate, and then a water pitcher on the head, and then what else? Water pitcher ke alawa do lit diyas in the hand, and they will cover the entire stage. It's a difficult thing. Then uske alawa, the next is the Talachitra Natyam. So they create a rangoli while dancing on the stage. That is Talachitra Natyam. And the Manduk Sabdam already we have mentioned. Then what about the music? So Carnatic classical music is used during the performance in the Kuchipudi. Then let's come to the third and fourth from the Kerala, Mohiniyattam and Kathakali. But let's start with the Kathakali first. So Kathakali derives its name from the Katha and Kali. Katha means story and Kali means drama. So originally Kathakali was the part of the dramas. Okay? So part of the dramas or traditional theaters of the Kerala. I'll tell you one interesting story. The two famous traditional theaters of the Kerala were Ramanattam and Krishnattam. So actually Ramanattam, okay, and Krishnattam. So Krishnattam developed in the city of the Guruvayur, okay, and Guruvayur is the Kochi, okay, Kochi area से Kochi से close है. So basically, and Travancore ruler influence was there in this particular area of the Guruvayur. What happened when that Krishnattam developed? So uske baad that both were enemies. Travancore rulers and Cochin rulers were enemies. Okay? They were adversaries of each other. But on the matters of religious, they tried to cooperate. So such was the beautiful performance of the Krishnattam that the Cochin ruler, forgetting his enmity, he requested to the Travancore ruler to send a troop of the dancers from the Travancore, so that the people can also learn, and this classical cultural performance can continue in the Cochin also. But then the ruler of the Travancore refused. He did not send his troop. And that's how the ruler of the Kochi, he himself composed Ramanattam. Okay? So Krishna Attam was the story of the Lord Krishna, and Ramanattam was the story of the Lord Ram. So that's how these two theaters developed. And in these two theaters, the important part is the performance of the Kathakali itself. Okay? So that's how we often say na, the theme of the Kathakali is based on the Ramayana and Mahabharata. तो यही है एपिसोड कि राम पे आधारित रामायण एंड देन कृष्ण पे आधारित महाभारत. Then now, as far as the modern age patronization is concerned, so it was revived by Valathal Narayan Menon, who was a Malayali poet, and he was given patronage by the Mukunda Raja. So now understand. So after it, let's come to the performance. Kathakali is a very unique performance. Initially, it was a part of the theater, but now separate performances also happens. But whenever it was part of theater, so एक चीज ध्यान रखने के लिए बहुत important है that the theatrical performance of the Kathakali is always under the sky, no closed environment. Only the separate performance can happen in the auditorium, but then the theatrical performance of the Kathakali will be in the open area, and that too in the premise of the temple itself. Okay? So they emphasize on the importance of the element of the sky. Then apart from it, the theme, as we mentioned, it is based on the Ramayana, Mahabharata and Purana story. And actually the essence of the theme is the eternal fight between, eternal fight between the good and evil, in which the good is always triumphant. Then Kathakali, this dance form is also known as the Ballad of the East, and so much of facial expression in this dance form. So in fact, all the 9 emotions are depicted from the eye and eyebrows itself. So eye and eyebrow movement is of utmost importance. Then facial makeup of the Kathakali is also very important, and they depict different kind of characters. One more thing is to be noted down, that all the colors which are applied on the face, organic in color, and coconut oil is the base. Then coconut oil is the base. Then let's come to the colors and the meanings. So the colors, like green depicts sattvic character. Okay? So noble, virtuous, honest character. Then green ke baad red depicts rajasic character, meaning that royal characters, luxurious character. Black depicts evil character, tamasic or evil character. And then yellow depicts beautiful women or saintly person, and white depicts divine person, meaning that divine origin, devata. So these are the 5 colors which are there in the facial makeup, and they will be depicting the different emotions, okay? Or sorry, different type of characters. Then Kathakali, originally it was, as we were discussing, that it was preserved of the males, but nowadays it has been allowed for the females also, and it happened in the 2022 when Kerala Kala Mandalam, which is the governing body of these 2 dances, so they allowed it. Then, so this is about, and what is the music? So no Carnatic, it is Sopand music of Kerala, which is used during the performance, where some unique kind of musical instruments are used, like Chenjila, Maddila, and Idakka and Sankhu. So that's about Kathakali. Let's move to the Mohiniyattam. Mohiniyattam also from Kerala, but it traces its origin to the story of the Samudra Manthan, churning of the sea. And Samudra Manthan, churning of the sea. As per the story, terrorized devatas have approached Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu to rescue, and that's how the Lord Brahma has maintained that there is a pot of elixir or Amrit they will have to churn out. And on the suggestion of the Lord Vishnu, they are approaching Asuras, and Lord Vishnu himself became the churner, and his snake became, Vasuki became the rope. The churning happened, and as expected, Asuras got hold of the Amrit pot. But then, at this time, Lord Vishnu disguised in the form of the Mohini to take back the Amrit pot. So this particular story is the beginning of the Mohini Attam dance. And in fact, many of the rituals of the Hinduism are also related to it. Many of the practices are associated to it. So for example, that how Rahu Ketu became Amar. Okay? So that is also related to this story only. Then, and the importance of the Kumbh, okay? The 4 places. So these all stories are depicted in the dance itself. Prayag, Haridwar, Nasik and Ujjain. Okay? So these all places, because the 4 drops of the elixir fell on these all places. So that is the part of it. Let's come to the features. As far as the features are concerned, stepwise it is very closer to the Bharatnatyam. Then, so it is said that Mohini Attam, okay, that vigor of the Mohini Attam is inspired, energy is inspired from the Kathakali, but then grace of the dance is inspired from the Bharatnatyam. Then, moreover, often the movements or the dance steps of the dancers, they resemble the sea waves, swaying of the palm fields, the swaying of the palm trees, coconut trees, and paddy fields. Then apart from it, there are 40 basic steps which are called as Ata Vavakul. Then Carnatic classical music is used, but the most important part of this dance is the costume itself. So, what is the costume? So, for the female proponents, it is the or for the Dev proponents, off-white kasau silk sari with the golden brocade and jasmine gajra in the hair lock. And those who play the role of the Asura, they wear black sari. So this is what is the costume. Then let's come to, so these are the 4 dances from the southern part of India. Let's move to the eastern part of India. In the eastern part of India, let's start our discussion with the Odissi first. So Odissi is regarded as the second oldest classical form of India. If Bharatnatyam is the oldest, so Odissi is the second oldest. Odissi is mentioned as Odara Nritya in the Bharat Muni's Natya Sastra. So Odara Nritya in the Bharat Muni's Natya Sastra. Moreover, that Odissi originally, how it started, so Maharis were the initial repository of this dance form, and Maharis were patronized by the Jain king of Odisha, Kharvela. Then, after the death of the Kharvela, the Mahari system started to become defunct or disappear. At that time, Odissi survived in the Nartala form, meaning that court dance form. And in the modern times, the very popular version of the Odissi is the Gotipua, which is performed by the young boys aged below 14, and it is very acrobatic performance in which leaping, jumping, and frogging is involved. In Gotipua, one more aspect is that these young boys are dressed like women and they perform on the theme of the Lord Vishnu. And they often perform in the groups and they create many geometrical shapes. Then let's come to other features of the Odissi. So Odissi, like the Bharatnatyam, it also has the importance of the steps. So the very first step of the Odissi is called as Mangala Charadam. Okay? So that is invocation of the Mother Earth or the God to seek their blessing. Then after Mangal Charadam, what is this? Bhatu Nritya. So it is a fast dance. Then Bhatu Nritya is followed by Pallavi and Tharijham, where the Abhinayan expression would be there. And the last is the Moksha or Trikhanda Manjura. So in this exuberant and joyous movement would be there, which will be symbolizing temporary salvation. So that's about the step. Then what about the other feature? So Mohini Attam emphasizes on the element of air, and this particular dance form emphasizes on the element of the water. Many a times Odissi is referred as fluidic dance because the dancer can create any shape with their body curve. Okay? Just like a water, just like a fluid. Many a times this dance is also called as mobile sculpture because in the group performances they move like a sculpture. Then, so that is one part. Then what are the important mudras? So Tribhang and Chok. Tribhang was the one which was asked in the exam, and it is tri-bent position of the body in which body is bent at neck, torso and knee. Okay? So neck, torso and knee, and Chok is creation of the square shape with the help of the leg. So Tribhang is the feminine posture and Chok is the masculine posture. As far as the music is concerned, so Odissi Sangeet is used during the performance. Then after the Odissi, next is the Manipuri. Manipuri also has a mythological origin. So as for the story, once upon a time, Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati descended to the hills of the Manipur and they danced with the local Gandharvas. So they danced with the local Gandharvas, and this is said to be the beginning of the Manipuri dance. But then in the modern day, what we see in the Manipuri, it is combination of the many things. So first of all, the theme of the Manipuri is based on the Sankirtan and Ras Leela. Both are related to Lord Krishna. So Ras Leela, love affair with the Gopika. Sankirtan, entire life story of the Lord Krishna. And then, uske alawa, that when it comes to the dance steps, so this is incorporation of the two folk forms. One is the Lai Haroba festival dance and another is the martial dance of the Manipur known as Thangata. So these two, the steps of these two dance are incorporated. So combination of the Sankirtan, Ras Leela, Lai Haroba festival dance and martial dance Thangata makes the today's Manipuri. And most popular theme in the Manipuri is the Lord Krishna's theme in the today's time. Then let's come to the other features. So in Manipuri, the costume of the dancers are as such that the faces of the female dancers are covered with a veil, and there is no mukha abhinay, facial expression would not be there. But then expression from the rest of the body parts would be there, which is called as Sarvanga Abhinay. On the other hand, when it comes to the male dancers, so though their faces are visible, but there would be no expression from the faces. Then Manipuri dance is also known for singing. So sometimes dancers, they sing also. So it is sometimes it becomes a song and dance performance also. Then music is mainly created with the help of the musical instruments like pena, theek hai, khol, pung, theek hai. So these are kartals and cholams. And so as the cymbals. Cymbal is manjira and what is kartal? Rhythmic hand clapping. So this is how the music is created. Then Nagbandha Mudra is a very popular mudra in the Manipuri, whereby the dancers create shape of 8 or S with the help of body curve. Got it? So that is one part of the Manipuri. But then who revived Manipuri in the modern times? Rabindranath Tagore. When the dance form was going into the oblivion, so Rabindranath Tagore introduced the dance form in the Vishwabharati University. Okay? Vishwabharati University. And that's how he make it part of the curriculum of the Santiniketan University. That's it. Then let's come to the Satriya, and then the last would be the Kathak. Satriya emerged in the Assam and where Majuli Islands of the Brahmaputra Valley. So Majuli Islands of the Brahmaputra Valley, and it was mainly due to the Mahapurush Shankardev or Bhakti saint of that area, Shankardev. So Shankardev was the head of Satar. What is Satar? Vaishnavite monastery of the Majuri Island. And he included two folk dances of Assam in the rituals of the Lord Vishnu worship. And what were these two rituals? So these two dances were the Devadasi and Vyahago Ojapali. In fact, these folk dances were also dedicated to the Lord Vishnu. And the combination of these two dances in the Satar came to be known as Satriya. Then Satriya as a dance form, okay, it was performed only in the monasteries, but now the outside monastery performances also happen. Then the theme of the Satriya is always based on the writing of the Shankardev, which are known as Bodgits, and the male devotee dancers are called as Bhokots. Then females also perform it, and the costume of the dance is created from the part silk of Assam, which is dhoti, pagudi, kanchi. Okay? So and then dhoti is for the males, but then for females, okay? So pagudi and kurta and then salwar would be there, but kanchi is a belt which is they are wearing on this waist part or torso part. Then apart from it, there is very few musical instruments are used. The most important is the khol in the performance. Okay? It's like a dhol or mridang. So now let's come to the last classical form, that is Kathak. So Kathak is unique, and Kathak is the one which is based in the that though the beginning of the Kathak is from the temples, but the growth of the Kathak happened from the Tawayaf Khanas, or those mahals which were created in the big cities of India, particularly the northern India. So Lahore, okay, Jaipur, Lucknow, Delhi, Agra, these all places. And in fact, they had a very respected position in the society. So they had a respected position in the society, and in fact, they also operated under certain rules. So let's come to the part. Kathak originated from the Kathakar tradition of the Western UP. So Kathakar tradition of the Western Braj and Awadh, to be very precise. Okay? दोनों जगह पे story telling tradition was there, and Braj में that generally Lord Krishna and Awadh Lord Ram. So this is how it all started. The storytellers used to perform on the dance also. But then in the Mughal time, okay, So in the Mughal period, this dance got heavy impetus, and that's how it got that some of the steps from the Baiji form of the dance, which is the Tawayaf dance, then that was incorporated into the Kathak. And that's how the Persian form of the dance got incorporated into the Kathak from the Mughal time. So it became a very popular court form of the dance from the Mughal time. And in fact, all the rulers of the northern India, they were patronizing it. Then in one way or another way. Then let's come to the next part, that when it comes to the features of the Kathak. Okay? So as we mentioned, it is the only classical form of India where there is an incorporation of the Persian influence also. So costume may be influence दिखता है, so as in the dancing. One of the difference of the Kathak that there is no bent position in the Kathak, flat, full foot contact with the dance floor. So dancers never dance on their toes, but they always keep full foot contact. And with this full foot contact, they often thump on the floor. And the dancers are wearing the ankle bells or ghungru also. In fact, sab mein pehante hain, but here also they're wearing. But the kind of sound they create, the rhythmic sound, it is not created in the other dance forms. Then apart from it, Kathak dance form has a costume influence also, Persian costume. So though Indian costumes are also used, but then Persian costumes are anarkali suit and anarkali kurta. And as far as the Indian costumes are concerned, so lehenga is also widely used. Okay? But then Indian costumes mein dhoti and gamcha is also used. So there is a variety of the costumes in the Kathak. Then as far as the female costume is there, so lehenga and anarkali suit both will serve the purpose. Which purpose? So generally what happens, the dancers, they jump in the air, take a turn. While they are jumping and taking a turn, so there is a flow which is created, a ghera, a piroot which is created in their costume, and that looks very elegant. And in fact, one of the step is called as chakkar. Okay? So what is chakkar? That they will be making innumerous rounds. In n number of the time they will be jumping, they will be taking the turn continuously. And when they are taking the turn and jumping continuously, so they are creating these piroots which provides the further elegance to the dance form. Then moreover, okay, Kathak is unique in many ways. So for example, that the steps in the Kathak are called as the element of recital. There is no fixed system, but then it is all depends on the dancers that what steps they are going to do. So these element of recitals are called as Toda, Tukda, Tarana, okay, Padhant, Kramalay, then Adaus, then Salami. So n number of the steps are there which they can perform. Then understand when it comes to music. So music is basically, in the beginning, Drupad was used, but in the modern times, in the Mughal times, Thumri, Ghazal and Tarana were also used. Another very unique feature of the Kathak is Gharana system. Okay? So Gharana system. And what is this Gharana system? So different styles of the Kathak were preserved under Guru Shishya Parampara in one such areas. So in a particular area. So for example, that the famous gharanas, there are many gharanas, but famous are, which we are referring. So Lucknow, Banaras and Jaipur. Lucknow gharana developed under Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, and then it emphasizes on the expression. Banaras gharana emphasizes on the symmetry, and it developed under Janaki Prasad. Jaipur gharana developed under Bhanuji, and it emphasizes on the rhythm. So that's how Gharana was the unique aspect of the classical forms. And moreover, sometimes in Kathak, interaction with the audiences also happens. So dancers, sometimes they do interact with the audiences. Then now one more confusion must be removed. I think in one of the class I asked, but फिर से repeat कर रहा हूँ, that Thumri is a different musical performance and Mujra is a different musical performance. Okay? So as the Khayal is a different musical performance. So, but then what is common between these all? Thumri, Khayal and Tarana, and so as the Mujra. Sabhi ganon pe, in all the songs, Kathak can be performed. This is a connecting link. So Kathak dance is a connecting link for these all. In fact, I don't know you have heard or not, but then सोहर कजरी होरी नहीं सुना है, कुछ लोगों ने सुना होगा सोहर कजरी. ठीक है, particularly it is mainly performed in the eastern part of the India. So eastern states, eastern UP, Bihar, and so as the Bengal, and so as the Jharkhand, and so as the parts of the Madhya Pradesh. So sohar is basically the song of the चाइल्ड बर्थ, ठीक है. कजरी इज बेसिकली रिलेटेड टू द लव, ठीक है, बट इन अ स्पेसिफिक सीजन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लास्ट ईयर मेंस का जो क्वेश्चन था पुरबैया, ठीक है, it's actually these all are. So sohar kajari are the part of the purvaiya culture, ठीक है. बहुत deep question था, and particularly from this particular part of the country only the people who are well versed in the culture of the eastern UP and the Bihar, they will be able to address that question. Rest of the people उसको छोड़ देना ही सबसे समझदारी थी, ठीक है. एंड देन सो दीज आर द पार्ट्स ऑफ इट. सो खाने पीने से लेके आई थिंक आई हैव अब यहाँ पे डिस्कस नहीं करूंगा, बट देन देर आर इन पुरबैया कल्चर देर आर मेनी थिंग्स विच आर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड. सॉन्ग, डांस, म्यूजिक, खाना पीना, एवरीथिंग, cuisines is according to the when the easterly wind starts blowing, ठीक है. So in fact the sujani embroidery is the part of the purbaiya culture when the easterly winds are there over here, ठीक है. So as that those laddus which are created in the house, ठीक है, which laddus, til ke laddu, ठीक है, then gud ke laddu, gud ke laddu with the adrak, ठीक है, ginger, that is also the part, because the easterly winds are the one because of which the illness increases, ठीक है, कि वो लोग बोलते कि ठंड गर्म हो गया, शर्द गर्म हो गया, तो फॉर दैट दीज ऑल प्रिपरेशंस वेर मेड इन दिस कल्चर, ठीक है. सो दैट्स व्हाट इज इंस्पायरिंग द कल्चरल एथोस ऑफ दिस एरिया, एंड दैट्स वाज एक्चुअली मतलब वेरी डीप क्वेश्चन, बट इसी पे मतलब ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इट आई से कि यूपीएससी हैज that no such defined limit, it can go to any limit to ask a question. But then understand कि एक difficult question एक से दो ही होता है. 1 to 2 questions will not define the nature of your the paper, and nature of paper भले define करे, but then it will not stop your selection, because if it is difficult for you, it is difficult for everybody, ठीक है. So keep in mind. So now let's come to the next part, which is the music. So Indian classical music. एक मिनट दे दो मुझे. जितनी तो कहानी नहीं बताई मैंने तुम लोग को, उतनी बार तो लोन देने वालों का फोन आ गया. पता नहीं ये नंबर कौन बांट देता है, आई डोंट नो. स्पैम स्पैम एंड लोन लोन. वन टाइम तो आई आस्क कि भैया आप ही बताओ आपको कितना लोन चाहिए, ठीक है. खुद पता नहीं कि है भी या नहीं. So now let's come to the classical music. Classical music. So once again, Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra is the original treatise on the music also. Then let's come to the other things in it. So earliest reference to the music can be found in the Rig Veda, and hymns of the Rig Veda were sung during the Vedic performances. And the special priest who used to sing the Vedic hymns was called as Udgatar. Moreover, Samved is considered as the Ved of the music. And what Samved mentions, 16,000 rag and ragini melodies. Moreover, later on Gandharva Ved was written, which is considered as the rule book of the music or grammar book of the music. Then let's come to the emergence of the different styles within the Indian music. So classical जहाँ तक बात है, ठीक है. So generally we classify the Indian music into Hindustani and Carnatic. But then Hindustani is not a one music in itself, but it is the collection of the many music. So let's trace the origin of these two schools. First of all, in the beginning, okay, particularly in the early medieval times and so as in the ancient time, there was not much difference between the South Indian and the North Indian music. But then it is from the 8th, 9th, 10th century in which the musicians of the North India, they started to follow a tradition of the time, season and mood. Okay? Particularly by the 10th century AD, it became very strong, and with the by the foundation of the Delhi Sultanate, it was consolidated. So what is this time, season, mood theory? That at a particular time, in a particular season, in a particular mood, only one type of that song would be, or one type of the raga would be sung. So for example, we have discussed in the classes Megh Rag. Megh Rag early morning में गाते हैं, and then season is the rainy season and the mood is the courage. So this time, season, mood theory of rag they started to follow, but then the same was not followed in the South Indian singers. Then moreover, it is after the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate the final differentiations happen, and moreover It is the contribution of the Amir Khusro which made it completely separate from the southern music. So now the very first part is the Hindustani music. But in Hindustani music, there are many compositions. Not all of them are classical. So the two music, Drupad and Khayal, are considered as classical. But then rest of them, which we will be discussing, Tarana, Tappa, Ghazal, Qawwali, Thumri, they are semi-classical. And then comes the Carnatic. So let's talk about the very first one, Drupad. So Drupad was the oldest classical music of India, and its emergence can be traced to the Vedic period itself, the kind of singing which existed in those times. So considered as the initial example of the Drupad. Then, as I did not mention about the basics. Pehle basics dekh lo. So what are the basics of Indian music? Then we'll come to the composition. So as far as the basics of the Indian music is concerned, or both Carnatic or Hindustani, dono mein, that will be Swara, Raga, Tala. Swara is the frequency, note or tone. And there is concept of the 7 swars in the Indian music. These 7 swars are Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni Sa. Okay? So Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni, that is Sadaj, Rishabh, Gandhar, Madhyam, Pancham, Nisad, Dvait. Okay? So Dvait and Nishad. So these are the 7 frequencies. Then moreover, the combination of the frequency leads to the creation of the rag. So to create a rag, what is the minimum requirement? 5 distinct ragas. Then, so 5 distinct ragas. Then apart from it, what is tal? So tal is the arrangement of the beats in a cyclical fashion. Okay? So arrangement of a beats in a cyclical fashion. These are the 3 important concepts which are followed in almost all the Indian music. Then, now we were in the Drupad. So एक बार फिर से वापस से ध्रुपद की बात करते हैं. Drupad, origin in the Vedic period, but then major development started to happen from the early medieval centuries. Now, so Drupad was called as initially temple music. Then, so temple music, moreover, Drupad is a sophisticated performance. Then, and it is a simple and sober composition, but it demands efforts from the lungs and the vocal cords. Then, so lungs and vocal cords. Then apart from it, Drupad performance starts with an alap, followed by jod, and then followed by 4 composed sections known as Sthai, Antara, Sanchari and Abhog. So Sthai, Antara, Sanchari and Abhog. So that last 4 portions are the lyrics of the Drupad, which are meaningful, okay, and which sets notes to that the music to a melody. Then after Drupad ki historicity, if we talk about, so it is Raja Mahan Singh Tomar of Gwalior who popularized it, and actually it was his kingdom only where, in which, okay, majority of the famous Drupad singers, okay, they flourished. So let's come to Akbar's time. Akbar maintained many Drupad luminaries in his court, and in fact, the most important was the Ramtanu Pandey. The original name is the Ramtanu Pandey, and he was popularly called as Tansen. Tansen was in fact one of the 9 luminaries of the Akbar's court. But then there were 2 other Drupad singers in the Akbar's court, were Baiju Bawra and Guru Gopal Das. Then, so Guru Gopal Das. Moreover, that apart from it, so Akbar's and Tansen related story, one question was asked in exam. So Akbar gave the title of the Mian to Tansen, not the Tansen title. Tansen was his name from the childhood itself. जैसे घर में 2 नाम होते हैं, तो वैसे he was called as the Tansen right from the beginning. Original name was Ramtanu Pandey. So that is one such part. Then Drupad Gharanas, ठीक है? So Gharanas, so popular Gharanas are the Betia, Darbhanga, okay, and Bishnupur and Dagari Gharana. And what is the basis of creation of the Gharanas in the Drupad or any classical music? So the Gharanas are the different styles preserved through the Guru Shishya Parampara. But how it's created? So difference in the language, dialect, okay? So reference in the language, dialect, temperament, meaning that speed of the singing, and so as the aptitude of the singing, samaj, understanding of the singing. So on the basis of the different gharanas were created and preserved. Then the second classical music from the Hindustani is Khayal. Khayal origin can be plainly attributed to Amir Khusro. So Amir Khusro, and Amir Khusro is this created this Khayal, which is a Persian word, and the meaning of the word is the thought, imagination. ठीक है. Then Khayal is more emphasizing not on the steps but the exposition of the ideas. So much more freedom is given to the singers to create the structure and form of the singing. Generally, Khayal performance is romantic. On the other hand, Drupad is devotional. And the Khayal performance generally takes place in two stages. That is Chota Khayal and Bada Khayal. Okay? As far as the gharanas are concerned, so gharanas in the Khayal are famous gharanas are Jaipur, Patiala, Agra, ठीक है, Lucknow, Gwalior. So these are the famous gharana. एक और बात जो खत्म मतलब that must be incorporated. Special feature in the Drupad was alap, a beginning feature. But the special feature in the Khayal is use of tan in the music. Then and tan is the last syllable which is elaborated. So that is about the Khayal. So these are the two classical forms. Let's come to the classical के बाद semi classical. कभी कभी पेपर में they can also give you light classical. ठीक है. तो semi classical के बजाय they also give the name light classical. So this can be kept in the light classical. Thumri is the most popular Hindustani music. It goes beyond even. ठीक है. This particular Drupad and Khayal. आज के time पे Thumri and particularly in the 20th century and 21st century, it is the Thumri which has kept alive the tradition of the Hindustani music. And large number of the singers in today's time, they practice it. Can you give me a name from the today's time in the Thumri? Very famous singer. I'll give you a name. इसीलिए मैंने पूछा. पर जाके YouTube पे देखना time मिले तो कौशिकी चक्रवर्ती. ठीक है. What a fine singer she is. And then the kind of range she has. And one more thing, generally Thumri singers, कुछ लोग बॉलीवुड में चले गए हैं, बॉलीवुड म्यूजिक में, but then majority of them, they don't go in the commercial aspect of the singing. And that's how the culture is preserved. ठीक है? That they respect. You know what happens that once they transport themselves from the classical singing to the Bollywood commercial singing, so it is inherent in the human behavior that people remain in the Bollywood singing itself rather than going back to the roots. So कुछ लोग हैं जो who are preserving it. So anyways, so Thumri originally emerged from the northern India and due to the contribution of the Bhakti saints of the North India. Even the later part, even the Sufi saints also had the contribution. So Thumri is semi-romantic and semi-devotional. And moreover, Thumri has two versions, popular version. Purbi Thumri, it is sung in a slow tempo, and Punjabi Thumri sung in a fast tempo. Banaras and Lucknow are the two famous gharanas. Lucknow Gharana was created by Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, and he had to pay the price for this Gharana. That's what is the reason because of which he was deported to Calcutta. But then even in Calcutta, he continued with this tradition. And there are the big names of the India who emerged in the 19th century. They were patronized by the Nawab Wajid Ali Shah in Calcutta itself. Okay? So let's come to next one. After it, Dhamar. Dhamar is specifically performed in the Braj area. Okay? So Braj area, and particularly during the festival of Holi, and the theme is always love affair of the Lord Krishna with the Gopikas, Ras Leela. Then comes Tappa. So Tappa was created by the camel riders of the Northwest, and since they are not the prolific song composers, so they started using the local idioms and the phrases. Then so muhavare or lokokti, and these local idioms and the phrases, since they are used, so this song is noted for the quick turn of the phrases. Jaldi jaldi phrases change hote hain. And moreover, Tappa singing became a fast singing when it came to Punjab. So singers of the Punjab started to compose fast songs under this category, and Tappa is very much part of the celebration, marriages and other rituals of the Punjab, very much sung during the marriage celebrations. Then comes Tarana. So Tarana is a music of entertainment, and it was all created during the it was all created in the North India during the rule of the Mughals, then particularly the rule of the Mughals. It was very popular among the Mughal nobles, and Tarana is known for creating some नॉन मीनिंगफुल वर्ड्स बट देन वेरी रिदमिक इन नेचर. सो कोई मीनिंग डिराइव नहीं होगा, बट देन देर इज रिदम इन द tarana. And as I think I have shared in the classes, that tarana is the one which has been incorporated n number of the time in the Bollywood. So tarana और ठुमरी दोनों incorporate होता है. क्लास में एक वीडियो भी दिखाया था मैंने तुम लोगों को, and those who haven't seen, so for them the song was from the, what is the movie, Devdas. So हम पे ये किसने हरा रंग डाला. Then so the parts of the song are actually tarana. Then the non-meaningful words, but the steps of the dance are synchronizing with those बोल. बोल का मतलब कि जो, हाँ, जो words they are speaking. Then comes after tarana is the kawali and the ghazal. So Kawali is another creation of the Amir Khusro. It was created in the praise of the, he started to compose small couplets or four-liners in the praise of the Allah, the Prophet, and the Sufi saints. And moreover, Kawali is specifically performed during the festival of Urs on the Sufi Dargah. Okay? Then it is devotional in nature. What is ghazal? So ghazal is the romantic poetry, and it is another product of the Persian influence, but not attributed to Amir Khusro. Ghazal is relatively a very new creation. It all became popular from the 18th century only. Okay? So 18th, 19th century. Moreover, ghazal, though is essentially it is a romantic poetry, but kabhi, sometimes that Sufi element is also noted, where God is seen as beloved. And the famous ghazal composers were Mir Taqi Mir, Mirza Ghalib, okay, and so as Bahadur Shah Zafar. So this is what is about the Hindustani music. Then let's come to the next one. Carnatic classical music. Then, so when it comes to Carnatic classical music, so Carnatic classical music, first of all, its journey starts with the book Sangeet Sar, which was written by Vidyaranya. So it is considered as the first book on the Carnatic music. But the most important book was the Chaturdandi Prakasika of the Venkata Mukhi, which was written in the middle of the 17th century. And what this book mentions, 72 Mela Karta Raga system, which is used as a base of the Carnatic music even till this date, and it's a highly scientific system. Then let's come to the Carnatic music itself, that what are the different stages in the Carnatic music. So Carnatic music is sung in generally 3 stages, which is called as Ragam, Tanam, and Pallavi. Ragam is what? It is very similar to the Drupad Alap. Okay? And in South India, we call it Alapana. It is improvised alapana in the free time, meaning they will start with a small frequency, but slowly they will range their frequency, they will increase their frequency to a very high level. So it is also a sophisticated singing. Then Tanam. Tanam is like the Jod of the Drupad. It is interconnected between the first part and to the final composed part. So in Drupad we said Sthai, Antara, Sanchari, Ambhog are the composed part. And here the Pallavi is the composed part which sets melody to a tal. Then apart from it, there are 2 types of the Carnatic performance, Kriti and Kritanai. Kriti is the one in which the singing or the vocal part would be very strong, very emphasized, and Kritanai mein music will be more intense. Okay? So that is there. Then the important personalities of the Carnatic, Purandhar Das is considered as the grand old man of the Carnatic or Pitama of the Carnatic. Then Trinity, male Trinity of the Carnatic will include Shyama Sastri, Tyagraj, and Muthuswami Dikshitkar. And female Trinity में MS Subbulakshmi, ठीक है, ML Vasant Kumari, DK Pattamal. The most important was the MS Subbulakshmi, who has been conferred with the Bharat Ratna also. So this is what is about the classical music part. Then let's come to the next topic. पहले painting कर लेते हैं and then we'll go into the literature part. ठीक है? So let's come to the Indian painting first. We'll give you 5 minute break. अभी नहीं, ठीक है? Let's complete some of the part, then we'll give you the break. So listen. So when it comes to Indian painting, there is prehistoric painting, then mural painting, then miniature painting, and then the folk and the living tradition of India. So as far as the prehistoric is concerned, there are two: Upper Paleolithic age painting, which has been found at the Bhimbetka, but then many places in India, like Mirzapur, even in the Uttarakhand, like example Lakhudiyar area of the Uttarakhand. So prehistoric Upper Paleolithic painting were the rock engravings on the walls of the cave, and these rock engravings are called as petroglyph, and they used naturally obtained color like ochre, brown, black, white, okay, and yellow. So these colors they were using, but the themes of the Upper Paleolithic painting were very limited: hunting scene, gathering scene, and fighting scenes. But then when it comes to the Mesolithic painting, as I hope you are remembering the Mesolithic period, 10,000 BC to roughly 6,000 BC के बीच में. So this is the best phase of the prehistoric painting. So Mesolithic paintings are better preserved at the Bhimbetka, but then at the many other places in India also. So as far as the story of the Bhimbetka is concerned, what we find at that particular place. First of all, these paintings are also petroglyph, created on the walls of the cave with the microlith, the characteristic tool of that area or that period. And as far as the themes are concerned, vivid themes were there. In fact, colors are also that good usage of the colors are there. But let's go stage wise. First of all, as far as the colors are there, so those naturally obtained colors were used, including the red and yellow, green also. But these colors were, in these colors, what they mix? Egg yolk to give it emulsified effect and increase the longevity of the painting. They also used animal blood for the painting, okay? And animal blood increased the longevity of the painting. Then as far as the themes are concerned, so themes of the Mesolithic painting, they depict socio-cultural life of that time. Socio-cultural life of that time, which includes that, so what are the depictions? So they depict domestication of the animals. How come? Okay? That taming of the animal riding, hunting, gathering, fighting scenes are there. Then household chores are depicted, celebration is depicted, group dance is depicted, sexual union is depicted, worship of the phallus and worship of yoni is also depicted. On the basis of all these things, what we say that animal riding conforms the domestication of animal, then sexual division of work is also reflected, and so as the primitive concept of the marriage and the primitive concept of the religion is also reflected with these paintings. Then after the Paleolithic painting comes the painting which are mural paintings. What is mural painting? The paintings which are created on a very large scale on the walls of the caves. Okay? So on the walls of the caves, and these paintings are referred as the wall painting in, or mural painting in English. In Hindi we call भित्ति चित्र. भित्ति का मतलब होता है wall. ठीक है? Then let's come to the next part after it. So these paintings, mural as far as it is concerned, Ajanta is the best preserved example, and so as Ajanta is considered as the mother of the all Indian fresco murals. We have already discussed the Ajanta one in the architecture part. Fresco mural painting technique also we have discussed, and so as the examples also we have discussed. So Ajanta murals are purely based on Buddhism, and some of the famous paintings were Padampani, Vajrapani, Flying Apsara, and Dying Princess. Then Ellora may be murals, fresco murals are there, but Ellora fresco murals are from Rashtrakoot period. Ajanta were from Gupta period, and Ellora were from the Rashtrakoot period. And Ellora mural is based on Vishnu tradition. So Lord Vishnu tradition, one of his image is very well preserved, that is the Lord Vishnu riding on Garuda. Then Bagh mural is based on Buddhism, okay, inside the Bagh cave. Then uske alawa Badami mural. So now from here onwards a new thing we are starting. Badami is in Karnataka, and Badami murals were patronized by the Chalukya rulers. The most important contribution was from the side of the Mangalesh Chalukya, and the paintings were based on two things. एक तो Lord Vishnu tradition, and second is depiction of the royal figures, meaning that members of the royal household were also depicted in the paintings. Then comes Sita Navasal painting of Tamil Nadu. ये mural painting का example अभी we are counting. So Sita Navasal painting of Tamil Nadu, it is created inside the Sita Navasal cave and patronized by perhaps Pallavas, and the theme of the painting is based on Jainism. ठीक है? Then after Sita Navasal, Armamalai cave is also the one where some Jainism based paintings are there. As far as the patronization is concerned, it is believed that कि पांड्या और पल्लवास दोनों ने patronize किया था. Then come to the next one, Tanjore mural. So Tanjore mural is created on the walls of the Tanjore temples like Brihadeshwara. And who patronized it? So Rajaraja Chola and then Rajendra Chola. Then what is the speciality? It is not only based on the Hindu gods and goddess, but the royal figures were also created on the wall of the temple. For example, the image of the Rajaraja Chola himself. Then iske alawa, what else is there? So iske alawa, the next part is after the Tanjore is the Lepakchi mural. Okay? So Lepakchi or Vijayanagar mural. But whenever you get a question of the Lepakchi, they will be asking that कि Vijayanagar mural was created in Andhra or Karnataka. अगर जो लेपाक्षी नाम नहीं देते हैं तो you will have to go with the Andhra. Though Vijayanagar kingdom is majorly there in the Karnataka also. But जहाँ तक murals की बात है, murals were mainly created in the Lepakchi, which is in the Anantapur district of the Andhra. Okay? So Lepakchi was the place where Vijayanagar murals were generally created. Vijayanagar murals are noted for, though they are created on the walls of the temple, but then that the theme was not religion but the depiction of the general life of the people. And moreover, it is also noted for complete absence of the primary colors like red, green and blue. Okay? Then comes the Nayak mural. So Nayak mural patronized by the Nayakas, okay, developed in and around Madurai, and theme is based on Hinduism plus Jainism. Okay? So only in the Nayak mural that we find the combination of the Hinduism and Jainism. So these are the mural paintings of India. Then let's come to the miniature painting. Why they are called as miniature? Small scale painting, इसलिए miniature. But small scale का मतलब ये नहीं है that they are not detailed. These paintings are highly detailed in nature. Then, so they are highly detailed in nature, and moreover, then, so highly detailed in nature. They are created on a perishable material. What is perishable material? Cotton, cloth, palm leaves or paper. Okay? So these were general used objects. Then understand. So initially there were two rules which were formulated for the miniature paintings, and these rules are now diluted. In fact, they were diluted during the Mughal period itself. So what were the rules? That the size of the painting must not be larger than 25 square inch, and the object to be painted must not be larger than 1/6 of the original image. So these were the two rules, but then actually they were limiting the expression of the painting, and that's how Mughal house completely broke it. So they started to create a bigger scale paintings in the miniature tradition. Then let's come to the early miniatures of India. There are two early miniatures. One is the Pal miniature, another is the Western miniature. Pal is basically patronized in the Pal dynasty area, Bihar, Bengal, these places. Then, so Eastern India by the Pal rulers, and Pal rulers were they were practicing Buddhist faith. So as such, the entire painting was based on Buddhism, but the painting was created on the palm leaves, and then these paintings were often accompanied with the handwritten scripts. So that's how it is also called as the manuscript painting. Then Western miniature, practiced in the Gujarat area, South Rajasthan area, which was the hub of the Jainism in those times. And moreover, it was patronized by the Jain traders of that area. So though initially they also used palm leaves, but later on they started using paper. And these paintings were based on the Jain theme. So Pal miniature, Buddhist theme, and Western miniature, Jain theme. But then The real change in the miniature scenario of India happened during the Mughal period. So Mughals brought a great change in the miniature paintings of India. But how it all started? 1555, when Humayun was returning back from Iran, he brought two famous Persian painters to India, Mir Sayyid Ali and Abdus Samad. With the arrival of these two painters, Persian Safavid style of painting started in India. And now the bigger scale paintings are created, and the color choice is also becoming very lively. Okay? Very enlivened paintings were created. So now understand, these two painters mainly worked in the court of the Akbar. And Akbar himself was very keen promoter of the art forms. So what is the contribution of the Akbar towards it? Akbar created many karkhanas of the painting. He created employment. He generated employment, and then he opened the gateways of the Mughal painting to the fellow Indian painters also. As far as the painting of the Akbar period is concerned, it was all based on realism. So royal court scenes or the natural setup was painted, but realistic images were painted. Then, during Akbar's period only, these two painters, Mir Sayyid Ali and Abdus Samad, they painted a very famous series of painting which is known as Hamza Nama series. Hamza Nama was based on the life of the Amir Hamza. And who was Amir Hamza? Uncle of the Prophet. So now, he became so appreciative of it that he ordered that some of the Indian literature must also be painted. As such, during his lifetime, two Indian literatures were painted. One was the Razmanama and another was the Tutinama. Razmanama is the translation of the Mahabharata in painting, and Tutinama, those stories which were popular in India and the stories which are told by the parrots. So Tales of the Parrot is the Tutinama. So now comes the time of the Jahangir. Jahangir's period is considered as the climax of the Mughal miniature. Okay? Now, अच्छा एक question, just let me tell you, because classes में जो मैंने पढ़ाया है उस हिसाब से जाओगे तो बाद में मुझे blame करोगे. So I just want to clear at this particular place. होता है कभी कभी कुछ new information that is to be added. So if you get a question on the portrait painting, already पूछ चुका है exam में, I think in 2017 or 18 paper related to Jahangir, that he initiated the portrait painting. But what if in the paper they give you that portraits were also painted at the time of the Akbar? Is it right or wrong? Right. Portraits were also painted at the time of the Akbar. But actually, the way it was painted in the at the time of the Jahangir, that was a new thing. Okay? So at the Akbar time, that portraits were painted, but then the background part was not blurred enough. Okay? What is the portrait technique in your camera? कि background पूरा का पूरा blur हो जाता है, ठीक है? And only single image can be that highlighted, ठीक है? So that was the Jahangir's technique. But then उसके पहले भी portraits were created, but then they were not in this fashion. So please keep in mind that portraits were created, ठीक है? So now let's come to Jahangir. So Jahangir himself was a great painter. Then he was a naturalist and he used to paint on various flora and fauna. Then he was, in fact, he practiced all the great arts of that time. जो लोग अभी सोच रहे थे, Jahangir already practice कर चुके थे. So now comes to the achievement. So achievement is this only, which we said, portrait mode. So portrait painting of the Jahangir was the biggest achievement. And in fact, there was a fine balance in the portrait painting that only one object is highlighted and rest of the things in the background, they are kept in blur. Then decorated margin tradition also started from the Jahangir time. So it was the great phase for the painting. And at this time, architectural things were taken by the Nur Jahan. Then comes the Shah Jahan's period. So Shah Jahan's, though he also promoted the painting, but the problem with the Shah Jahan, his overt and covert love towards the gold. Overuse of the gold, it compromised the realism of the Mughal paintings. And at the same point of time, some European tradition also became prominent in India from the Shah Jahan's time, like pencil sketching, charcoal sketching, and method of the dark and shadow method of the painting. So these started to be reflected in India from the Shah Jahan time. Aurangzeb completely stopped the patronage to the paintings. And that's how, when he is stopping, so then the painters would be going to the regional kingdoms. They will be seeking the employment in the regional kingdoms, and regional kingdoms will further flourish. Okay? Paintings in the regional kingdoms will further flourish in which areas? Rajput areas, basic entire Rajasthan, and so as the Pahadi areas. So let's come to the Rajasthan first. So Rajasthan, it's a big area. Okay? There are some common running themes in the entire Rajasthan, but then some regional variations in the painting also. So for example, common running theme was that some of the themes which were painted, like Geet Govind of Jaydev, Chaur Panchasika of Bilhana, okay? So Dhola Maru theme, okay? And so as the Ragamala theme. So these were the common in the Rajasthani schools. But then Lord Krishna is also the common running theme in the Rajasthani school. Then let's come to the areas of the Rajasthan where the paintings were practiced. So first of all, Kota and Bundi area, which is also called as Hadoti area. And sometimes their paintings are also referred as Hadoti painting or Kota Bundi painting. Now, the speciality of this area that it is the greenest part of the Rajasthan, okay? Lush green vegetation, and so as the wild beast would be there. So hunting scenes are often depicted in the Kota Bundi painting, apart from the other themes like Lord Krishna and so as the court life. Then comes the area of the Marwad, which includes Jodhpur, Bikaner, Jaisalmer, and in the entire Marwad area, there is a very popular worship of the Khatu Sham. Okay? So Lord Krishna is often repeated in these areas. Then, and in fact, the childhood pranks of the Lord Krishna, like Makhan Chori, okay? And playing with those gopikas, so taking away their clothes when they are going into the lake, okay? For washing, for bathing. So childhood pranks are also depicted. Then comes the Mewad area. Mewad is the main Rajputana of the Rajasthan. So Mewad includes the area of the Udaipur, Chittorgarh, Pratapgarh. So these areas, so in Mewad, the general depiction was the natural scenery, like the lakes of the Udaipur, so as their palaces, royal processions. So these all things are depicted. But then there is a one town in the Mewad area, Nathdwara. And वहाँ पे एक अलग पेंटिंग प्रैक्टिस होती है. That painting is the Pichwai painting. And Pichwai painting, originally it was painted only for the temple of the Srinathji. Srinathji is the Lord Krishna, and he is depicted in a complete black stone form. Then, so what happened in the beginning and how it all started? So cotton cloth pe painting was done, and which served as the backdrop of the Srinathji. So this paintings changes every season. It is actually a depiction of the changing seasons. So nowadays it is also painted not only for the temple but also for the normal people, and that's how in the G20 summit it was a gift which was given to the people who participated. Okay? So that is Pichwai painting. Then come to the last one, which is the Kishangarh painting. It is the zenith of the Rajasthani school, meaning that climax. Then moreover, it developed under the painter Nihal Chand. Then, and he created mannerist style of the painting, which is known for exaggerated bodily features like so sharp chin, sharp nose. Then eyes are too big, okay, in almond shape, and very thin eyebrows. Then apart from it, thin eyebrow to chalo chalta hai, okay. But then and fingers were also very long. So these were good part, but some places exaggeration, like very slender curve depiction in the body. But apart from it, this painting is also depiction of the Indian ethnic wear. So basically the wear of the clothes of the Indian bride, okay? So and also the ornaments of the Indian bride. Then so this is depicted. The most famous painting is the Bani Thani, okay? So Bani Thani painting, which was painted by Nihal Chand. Then inspired from the Kishangarh painting was the Pahadi area painting. So let's talk about the Guler Basoli painting. Guler Basoli is an area in the Jammu and Himachal. दोनों areas को cover करता था उस time पे, ठीक है? And it developed under a painter Nansuk, ठीक है? So Nansuk also followed the tradition of the sharp features in the body. But then he also depicted the royal scenes, royal court, and the vegetation, the very lush green vegetation of this particular area of the Guler and Basoli. Then Kangra painting is the further extension of the Guler Basoli, and very beautiful tradition is the Kangra painting. So Kangra painting mein not only they follow the same technique of the Kishangarh and Guler Basoli, but then there is a new theme which has come up in the Kangra, that is the Ashtanaika Abhisharika Naika. And who is Ashtanaika or Abhisarika Naika? The heroine who is, okay, that not defeated by the challenges, but that she is so determined that no matter whatever be the challenges, it may be the ghost or the wild beast or the anything, okay, or inclement weather, but she will, whatever be the situation, she will meet her lover. So that is the Abhisharika Naika which is depicted in this one. And moreover, Kangra se hi ek offshoot tradition started, which is Kangra Rumal. Kangra Rumal is the combination of the embroidery and painting, and it is also having the GI tag. This embroidery and painting is done on a cotton cloth, and this Kangra Rumal is often exchanged as a gift during the marriage and celebration. Okay? In fact, wrapping the gift also done by the Kangra Rumal. And one more thing I mentioned to you, that Kangra painting was discovered by Charles Metcalfe. So Kangra painting was the first painting which got patronage of the British in 1835. Okay? So that is about the Kangra. Then let's come to Kangra ke baad South Indian paintings, some of the famous South Indian paintings. So as far as the famous South Indian paintings are concerned, so the most famous is the Tanjore, then the Mysore, and the Kalamkari. So Kalamkari se start karte hain. Kalamkari is cotton cloth painting of the Andhra. And there are two traditions in the Kalamkari, Srikalhasti Kalamkari based on Hindu religious theme, and Masulipatnam Kalamkari on the secular theme. Okay? Then Tanjore painting is a canvas painting of the Tamil Nadu. But then some unique aspects are there in the Tanjore painting. Wooden panel on which cotton cloth is pasted with the tamarind and jaggery paste, and then after the painting is created. But painting is majorly, the major feature of the painting is the embossing technique. Okay? And on the embossed portion, generally they use the real gold. Okay? So it is noted for the use of the real gold and ornaments in the painting. Cost wise, it is one of the very costliest painting. Okay? If it has the real gold. Then theme wise, Lord Krishna is a very popular theme. Flute playing Krishna is one of the very popular theme, but apart from it, all the other major Hindu gods are also represented in the Tanjore painting. Then after the Tanjore painting, Mysore painting, which was patronized by the Vodeyar rulers of the Mysore, particularly the Krishna Raja Vodeyar. And Tanjore painting also incorporates the embossing technique, but embossing is thinner as compared to the Tanjore. Okay? Then apart from it, they use contrasting color and the muted colors in the paintings. Apart from it, when it comes to the increasing the longevity of the painting, so they also used a paste which they applied on the painting, and the paste was gesso paste, which was a mixture of the lead, gambos and glue. And theme wise, Hindu mythology, but the most famous is Mysore Dasahara. That is the Mysore painting. Then after it, so we are going into folk and the living traditions of India. So what are the folk and living traditions of India? All the other paintings which have not been covered, let's look at them over here. We are starting from the that topmost part of the country, Kashmir se Leh Ladakh, okay, not from Kashmir. So Leh Ladakh, what is the name of the painting? Thangka. So Thangka painting. Thangka painting originally created on the silk cloth, but aaj ke time pe it is created on the canvas also. And Thangka painting has Tibetan influence. So in what form? The depiction of the dragons. Then apart from it, Thangka painting is purely based on the Buddhism. One of the most popular theme in the Thangka is the mandala, depiction of the mandala. Then after the Thangka, let's come to all the paintings from the Bihar. Then, so Bihar mein, let's start with the very first one, Patna Kalam. नाम से ही बहुत कुछ पता चल जा रहा है, Patna Kalam. So it was practiced by the men of the or painters of the royal courts in Bihar. Technique wise, it was exactly similar to the Mughal painting, but theme wise, it was different. And what was the theme? They depicted the hardships of a common man. Then comes Manjusha painting of Bihar, practiced in the Bhagalpur area of the Bihar. And common theme in the painting is the depiction of a snake and bamboo. So snake will be there in almost all the paintings, though the painting is based on the Hindu religious theme, but snake will always be depicted. Then comes the most famous painting of the Bihar, which is Madhubani painting, practiced in the Mithilanchal area of the Bihar, and or North Bihar, you can say. Darbhanga is the epicenter of this painting. Then originally Madhubani painting was practiced by the women of the Darbhanga or Mithilanchal, but then it was practiced on the walls of the houses. Okay? And initially they were mixing colors in the rice flour, chawal ke aate mein color mix karke, and then they were painting the walls. So this is how it all started. But then after the India's independence, government of India supported the Madhubani area women so as they can create it on the canvas also, and they can earn livelihood. And that's how the canvas tradition of the Madhubani started. As far as the theme wise it is concerned, there are three popular themes because they were created at the three places. So the Madhubani painting which was created on the entrance of the house was called as Aripan. Okay? And the one which was created inside the prayer rooms was called as Gosai Ghar Madhubani, in which gods and goddesses are depicted. And the one which was created inside the bedrooms was called as Kohabar Madhubani. And this one had the love theme, okay? And then other themes associated with the any part of the life. In fact, one of the common image in the Madhubani painting, or very repeated image in the Madhubani painting, is the fish. And fish is considered as very auspicious. Then, so particularly in the entire Mithilanchal, there is a tradition that शादियों में कुछ बने या न बने मछली जरूर बनती है, ठीक है? And that's what is there in the Bengal also. Bengal तो रोज ही बनता है, ठीक है? So in fact, so now let's come to after this part. So Madhubani painting, it's one of the highly acclaimed and very respected, very popular painting in India. बाहर भी, in fact, India के बाहर भी काफी popular है. Then after Bihar, let's come to the Odisha. In Odisha, so Odisha में a painting which started was the Patachitra. Okay? Patachitra was a painting which was initially created on the palm leaves as a scroll painting. So scroll मैंने already class में बताया, लेकिन फिर से I am telling you. So this is what will be called palm leaf है, and if it is folded like this, so that is scroll. So this is first part of the scroll, second part of the scroll, and each part of the scroll will have a story, continuous story. And palm leaf was created with the iron needle. Okay? The scratching was done on the palm leaf, and then the colors were filled in it. But then nowadays it is also practiced on the silk cloth, cotton cloth. Initially the painting was based on the legends of the Lord Jagannath, but आजकल के time पे that n number of the secular themes are also painted. Okay? So variety of the themes. In fact, I'll tell you one thing, that if they give you that even the Kama Sutra theme is painted, will it be right or wrong? It is right. And in fact, I will tell you my own experience that I go and travel a lot. So I went to that village which has this distinction of the highest number of the national awardees. Puri ke bagal mein hi hai, and then the name of the village is Raghurajpur. So I was in one of the house, and then I asked that why these erotic paintings are created, that you are creating. So they said that generally we don't sell it over here. Okay? We keep it inside, and the foreigners have a lot of interest in it. So we sell it because they give a very good price of it. So then I asked, is it allowed under the tradition? So they said that everything is allowed. Okay? It's only up to that what you are painting, what you consider good or not. So they paint. So nowadays everything is painted. Then अब ये मतलब ये हो चुका है. But then it's a very sacred painting. This is why I asked. अब मैं तुमको एक additional fact बता रहा हूँ, which I have not told you in the class. So additional fact is that there is a one such part of the Patachitra which is called as Ansar Patti. Ansar, A-N-S-A-R. So Ansar Patti. What is Ansar Patti? That on the palm leaf patti. Patti you understand? Hindi जिसको पता होगा उसे समझ में आएगा. So if I cut a palm leaf in this much size, so that will be called as patti. Okay? So इस पे भगवान जगन्नाथ की that the image will be created. And then when the Bhagwan goes for the Rath Yatra, Ansar Patti is kept inside the premise. You remember? You understand? When Bhagwan goes for the Rath Yatra in Puri, so Ansar Patti is kept inside the Garbhagriha. So this is the tradition. So that's why I asked that why they are creating the other things also, but then they create. So that is about the Patachitra of the Odisha. Then Patachitra of Odisha inspired the Bengal Pata. Okay? This you haven't studied. But Bengal Pata is exactly similar to the Patachitra. Only it is created in the Bengal. Okay? Theme wise also based on Hindu mythology, created on the palm leaves, and then nowadays it is also including the secular themes. Then come to after it this part. So Patachitra ke baad then let's move to the western part of India. So in the western part of India, so Wadli painting. So Wadli painting, and Wadli is from the Maharashtra. So which area? Bombay. So Wadli island of the Bombay. It was practiced by the Wadli tribe of the Maharashtra or Bombay, and initially it was also a mural painting created on the walls of the houses. So at a time they use only two colors, okay? White and any other color. Now, so what they depict in this painting, so their unique celebration would be the central part of the painting, and then their entire life cycle starting from the birth till the marriage and the last ritual. Okay? So everything is depicted in the painting itself on the sides, and it's a very beautiful painting. Okay? So beautiful painting nowadays very popular in the canvas tradition also. Then after this, okay, Rajasthan part. So in Rajasthan there are two paintings which I'm mentioning. Babuji Ki Fad we have mentioned in the classes, which is based on the legends of the hero Babuji, who was very popular in the pastoralist community of the Rajasthan. But then there is a one more painting which is based on the religious tradition of the Rajasthan, that is called as Kavad. Okay, so Kavad, let me write. And Kavad is not Kavariya of the, यहाँ कांवरिया यू नो अभी स्टार्ट हो जाएगा दिल्ली में भी, ठीक है. सो कांवरिया इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, ठीक है. कावड़ इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द कवड़िया, ठीक है. सो कावड़ इज अ वुडन डोर्स. सबसे अच्छा एग्जांपल बताऊं, ये जो फैकल्टी रूम बना है इसमें, व्हाट इज प्लेस, दैट इज कावड़, ठीक है. देखा है अभी क्लास में ब्रेक में, चलो दिखाता हूं. So that is, yes, so that is covered, but when it is painted, so that will become the covered painting. Okay, so covered painting is also from the Rajasthan. Okay, secular themes are also painted, and so as the religious themes are also painted. Then so these are some of the paintings from India. Okay, now तो break दे दूं 5 मिनट का, 5 मिनट का break ले लो, फिर then we'll start with the last of the topic. So let's start with the last of the topics. Okay, and there are some additional things which are given in the QRM material, वो अपने end से देख लेना, like puppetry and theatres and these all that. So that's not a big thing, ठीक है. But then I don't think कि puppetry पे क्यों अपना time नुकसान करोगे. According to me, I don't think that this year they will be asking anything with the puppetry. So that has been given, but then rather than that, folk dances कोई न्यूज़ में था, if it is there in the PT 365 तो उसको देख लेना, एक या दो. Then so let's come to the language and literature part. So language and literature part, so when it comes to the languages of India, so they are considered as the most advanced languages of the world. The reason is the system of writing corresponds to the system of, बताओ, pronunciation. ठीक है. And what kind of system we do follow? Abugida system of writing. So Abugida system of writing, whereby consonants are always written, vowels are used as matra, but then some places when or whenever a word is going to start with a vowel, so then only it will be fully used, but otherwise it is used as a matra or diacritic. Then apart from it, the earliest script of India is the Brahmi, and after the Brahmi was the Kharoshthi. So after the Brahmi was the Kharoshthi. So these two are the earliest scripts of India. As far as the language categorization in India is concerned, there are 4 language families in India, and these language families are the Indo-Aryan group of language, which includes mainly the languages whose lineage is associated with the Aryan languages which they brought, particularly Sanskrit, and so as the Indian languages, what is it? Prakrit. So Indian languages were the Prakrit, and the Aryan languages were the Sanskrit, or many such similar languages of the Sanskrit. So with the interaction of these languages, Indo-Aryan languages developed. Which all languages are Indo-Aryan? So नाम बताओ. So Hindi, Sanskrit, ठीक है, Marathi, Nepali, Kashmiri, Punjabi, Odia, Bengali, Assamese, done. So these all, Nepali also. So these all are in this category, even Urdu. Then comes the Dravidian group of languages. Dravidian group of languages includes the South Indian languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. Then comes the Sino-Tibetan languages or Indo-Burmese language. So दो नाम देते हैं Indo-Burmese और Sino-Tibetan. This is mainly the language of the Northeast India. So Sikkimese, ठीक है. Then Arunachali, Meiti, Manipuri, Nagamese, ठीक है, Mizo. So these all languages will come under this category. And then the last is the Austric languages, which is basically the tribal languages of India. And as you know that numerous tribes are there in India. So all of them, they have their distinct tongue and the languages are. So in the northeast itself, Bodo, okay? Then Santhali in the eastern India, Mundari, then Gondi, okay? Then Toda, then Andamanis, Nicobaris, Ong, Jorve, okay? Then Ho, Kora, then. So these are some of the tribal languages of India. As far as the linguistic diversity in the world is concerned, India is not the linguistically most diverse country, but it comes under in the top 5. So India's position in the linguistically most diverse country is the number 4, and the number 1 is the Papua New Guinea. Okay, so Papua New Guinea. Then let's come to the next part, which is after it. So that Sanskrit language say we are going to start. Okay, so Sanskrit language and the Sanskrit literature. So Sanskrit language came to India, as it is said, that with the arrival of the Aryans or advent of the Aryans. But then the Sanskrit that we use today, it is not purely Aryan. It has incorporated the Prakrits of India. I don't know that मतलब तुम लोग बहुत सारे batches से हो. In some of the recent batches I have very मतलब lucidly I have explained that what is the concept of the Prakrit. Prakrit is basically a terminology which is used for the natural languages of India. Okay? And in fact, Pali is also a Prakrit. You remember, Pali is also a Prakrit, so as there were many Prakrits which were popular in the north and the central part of India. So these Prakrits, they have different names. Magadhi, Ardha Magadhi, okay? Magadhi, Ardha Magadhi, Paisachi, okay? Sauraseni, Maharashtri, and then Pali. So these are the Prakrit languages, meaning the natural languages of India. So interaction of these Prakrits with the Aryan languages has led to the emergence. And so as the today's Sanskrit is not the product of only the Aryan influence, but also the Prakrits has been incorporated into the Aryan languages. Sanskrit is that language which is considered as truly international in nature. It transcends the boundary of both region and religion. So it was practiced not only in the Hinduism but also in the Jainism, Buddhism, and so as in the Parsi religion also the Sanskrit was utilized. But in today's time, majorly Sanskrit is used in the Hinduism. Then as far as the Sanskrit literature is concerned, we divide the Sanskrit literature into 2 categories. And these 2 categories are, so one is the classical Sanskrit, which we'll take up later, and uske pehle, classical Sanskrit ke pehle is the Vedic literature, its extended text and derivative religious literature. So what comes under this? So we are starting our discussion with the Vedas and the extended text of the Veda. So Vedas mein Rigved. Rigved derives its name from the Rik. And what is Rik? Rik is the collection of the mantra. And in Rigved, what we find 3 stages. So mantra, psalms and hymns. So mantra is the smallest unit. Psalm is the collection of the mantra and hymn is the collection of the psalms. Chalo, I'll write this part because some of the batches or some of you don't know it. So mantra सबसे छोटा unit है, ठीक है? And rik का मतलब ही होता है mantra. Then collection, many mantra will be called as psalms. And many psalms, the collection of the psalms would be called as hymns. Then, so this is how the classification. So सबसे छोटा mantra, mantra से बड़ा psalms and psalms से बड़ा hymns. Then understand. So how many hymns are there in the Rigved? 1028. 1028 hymns are there in the Rigved. And moreover, as far as the chapters or the divisions in the Rigved is concerned, so there are total 10 mandalas. So Mandal number 2 to 7 are the oldest. 1, 8, 9, 10 were composed in the later Vedic age and rest of them in the early Vedic age. Then, on the basis of the theme, there are three parts to be noted down in the Rig Veda. One is that it gives the beautiful description of the topography or the geography of the northwestern part of India. It mentions the rivers of the Sapta Sindhu and so as the Himalaya mountains. Then the second is that Rig Veda is important source of information about the society, economy and polity of the Vedic period. And the third, it is the book of the prayer and mantra. So Rig Veda is the book of the prayer and mantra. And with this prayer and mantra, what they seek, development of the highly cultured society and development of the noble values. So that is what is the Rig Veda. Then after the Rig Veda, the next is the Samaveda. Samaveda was actually created from the Rig Veda itself. All the hymns of the Rig Veda which were sung, they constituted Samaveda. And expert of the Rig Veda was called as Hotra. Then, and expert of the Samveda will be called as Udagatar. Now understand, near about 570 hymns of the Rig Veda were sung and they constituted Samveda. Some additional portions were also added in the Samveda. Then, Samveda mentions 16,000 ragas and ragini, which is the melody. So that's why it is called as the Veda of the music. Then comes the Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda was the most popular of the all Vedas and it derives its name from the Yajur, which means Yajana. It derives its name from the Yajana, which means ritual sacrifices. Yajur Veda gives the guideline to the performance of the ritual sacrifices, that is Yajanas. And there are two popular parts of the Yajur Veda, that is Krishna Yajur Veda, Sukla Yajur Veda. Krishna Yajur Veda is based on the Rishi Vaishampayan tradition, which is followed in the southern India, and Sukla Yajur Veda is based on Rishi Yagyavalkya tradition, which is followed in the northern India. So basically, the rituals of the North India are guided by Sukla Yajur Veda, and rituals of the South India are guided by the Krishna Yajur Veda. Then, so this is there. Then let's come to the last Veda, that is the Atharva Veda. So Atharva Veda, it is the most elaborate of the all Vedas. Origin of the Atharva Veda is traced to two rishis, Atharva Rishi and Angira Rishi. So Atharva Rishi and Angira Rishi, and moreover after it. So this book, this particular Veda, generally people associate it with the spells and charms, but it is not just spells and charms, but is not just associated with the magical aspect, but it is also book of the cure of 99 diseases. Then it also mentioned some concepts of the Vedic mathematics. Then it also mentions the geological aspect of India, basically the different animals which are found and which are useful. Then also mentions the important herbs of India. So botanical and geological information we also get from the this particular Atharva Veda. So that's about the Atharva Veda. But then these all Veda, they are in the mantra form, and mantra is often referred as Samhita. Okay, so they are in a Samhita form. So that is to be explained, and explanation is given in the extended text. So what is the extended text of the Veda? Brahmad, Aranyak and Upanishad. So the first explanatory book of the Veda is the Brahmad. So each and every Veda has their own Brahmad text. And what they do, so Brahmad try to expound the ideals of the Vedas. Okay, ideals of the Veda. They explain different rituals of the Veda, why they must be performed, and what is the benefit of performing those rituals, those things mentioned in the Vedas. Then comes the Aranyak. So Aranyak deals with the mystery of the Veda. So those difficult questions which are there, they are dealt in the Aranyak, and the knowledge of the Aranyak is disseminated to the interested people or the disciples only in the Vanaprastha stage of life, meaning the forest stage of the life. And then comes the Upanishad. So Upanishad deals with the philosophy of the Veda. And what is the philosophy? That what is the purpose of the life? How this universe originated? Okay? That origin of the universe, origin of the earth, life beyond death. What is the purpose of the soul? What is the meaning of the life itself? So these all questions are dealt in the Upanishad. So these are the extended text of the Veda. Then comes the derivative and derived religious literature. So derived religious literature may, that though the concept or the initial concepts are based in the Veda itself, but then they have added legendary stories. So Ramayana and Mahabharata are the two famous epics ठीक है. And then after the third most important religious text in the Hinduism is the Puranas. So during the Gupta period, majority of the Puranas were compiled, and in today's time 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas are there. So what is Puranas? So Puranas are often combined with the Itihas, meaning history, but then they also have the legendary stories, and they also try to popularize Hinduism and make people believe in the rituals and the rites of the Hinduism. So as far as the themes in the Purana are concerned, it can be divided into 5 themes. So themes are Sarga Pratisarga, Sarga Pratisarga, Vams Vamsanucharit, and Manavantar. Sarg is related to the creation of the universe. Pratisarg is the destruction of the universe. Vams is the genealogy of the gods. Vamsanucharit is the genealogy of the ruling dynasties of India. And Manvantar is the story of the first human being, that is Manu and Satrupa or Ila. Then, so this is what is mentioned in these all. Then the only Puran which has all the 5 themes, that is the Vishnu Puran. But the rest of the Purans, they do incorporate 1 or 2 themes, but not all the themes. Then, so this is about the Puran literature. But then one more thing has to be said, that Puran literature is also very important source of the history. So for example, Satvahan history is only mentioned in the Puran, that mainly traced from the Puran. But then Gupta history, so as the that history of the Mauryas is also mentioned in the Puran literature. So it is also a very important source of the historical information. So that's about the Puran literature. Then let's come to the classical literature of Sanskrit. So in classical literature of the Sanskrit, there are a number of the books which were written, and what you needed to know about these books, that not only the themes but also the writers. Okay? So let's talk one by one. Classical literature mein. So Shudrak wrote the very famous literature or very famous novel. What is that? Brij Katika, clay cart. So clay cart, and then clay cart. So basically this is a satire on society, but this will be less. It is actually the story of the courtesan, okay, and then a poor Brahmin. Then comes Vishakha Dutt writing Mudra Rakshas and Devi Chandraguptam. So Vishakha Dutt, 2 books. One is the Mudra Rakshas. Mudra Rakshas, what is the theme? Political mechanization developed by Chanakya against the Nanda ruler. Then Devi Chandraguptam is the biography of the Chandragupta II. Okay? Then comes all the writings of the Kalidas. Okay? So Kalidas authored so many books, starting with the Abhigyan Sakuntalam, love affair of Dushyant and Sakuntala. Then Malvika Agni Mitra, love affair of Agnimitra Shunga and Princess of Vidisha Malvika. Then Vikramo Urvasi. This is love affair of the Pururva and celestial nymph Urvashi. Then uske baad Raghuvamsam, clan of the story of the Lord Ram. And then after Raghuvamsam, Kumar Sambhavam, story of the making of a young god, that is Kartikeya. But it also mentions the marriage of the Lord Shiva with the goddess Parvati. Okay? Then comes some of the famous poetries of the Kalidas, like Meghadutam and Ritu Samhar. Meghadutam is the love letter through clouds. So who is sending letter to whom? A Yaksh is sending letter to his wife through clouds. Okay? Then the next one, Ritu Samhar. So Ritu Samhar is the song of the seasons. Okay? So song of the seasons. So these are the famous compositions of the Kalidas. After it, let's come to the next one. Okay? Or next writer. So next writer, Bhavabhuti's composition I am emphasizing for this year paper. So Bhavabhuti's composition, his name has been asked, but as you know UPSC का एक जो चल रहा है आजकल, पिछले साल में किसी को पूछ लिया, उसी से related some difficult question this year. So some of the books of the Bhavabhuti, can you mention? Mahavir Charit and Uttarama Charit. Mahavir Charit is based on early life of the Ram, Lord Ram. So yahi मैं emphasize करते आ रहा हूँ. Mahavir Charit would be given in the paper, and in the option it would be given that it is based on the life of Vardhaman Mahavir, which is wrong. So Mahavir Charit is based on the early life of the Lord Ram, and Uttaram Charit is based on the last part of the Lord Ram's life. Okay? So these are the 2 books which are written by Bhavabhuti, but both are them based on the life story of the Lord Ram. Okay? And then another book of the Bhavabhuti is the Malati Madhav, okay? Which is the love affair of the Malati and Madhav. Okay? So these are the three books. Isko yaad rakhna, because related to Lord Ram can be important. Okay? So then let's come to the other books of this particular point of time. So grammar, as far as the Sanskrit grammar is concerned, main books were Padini's Ashtadhyayi, Patanjali's Mahabhashya, and Amar Simha Amar Kos. So Padini's Ashtadhyayi, after it, Mahabhashya was written. But basically, what is Mahabhashya? It is a commentary or explanation of the Ashtadhyayi, which was written by Patanjali. And then Amar Simha's book, Amar Kos, which is the lexicography of the Sanskrit, meaning the origin of the Sanskrit words are mentioned in the Amar Kos. Then, so that's about the three important books of the Sanskrit grammar part. Then there are many such scientific literature. So Aryabhati, written by Aryabhat, based on astrology, astronomy and mathematics. Then uske alawa Brahma Sputa Siddhantika. Okay? So Brahma Sputa Siddhantika, and what is mentioned in this book? So cloud formation theory. And whose book? Varamihir. Then uske alawa what else? So Rasharnav and Rasratnakar, written by Nagarjun, based on metallurgy. Then what is the name of that? Charak Samhita. So Charak Samhita, book on Ayurveda. Sushrut Samhita, book on surgery. And what else has been mentioned in the Sushrut Samhita? Surgical instruments, ophthalmic surgery, plastic surgery, and nose reconstruction surgery, which is called as rhinoplasty. Then, so these are there. So these are some of the important texts associated with the medicinal tradition. Then after the Sanskrit literature, now let's move to the Buddhist and the Jain literature. So Buddhist literature is generally divided into two categories: canonical and non-canonical literature. Canonical is the most revered tradition of the Buddhism, most revered and the holy text of the Buddhism, most sacred text of the Buddhism, that is three Pitaka. So three Pitakas were written in Pali, and canonical only exist in Pali. So now, as far as the canonical literature are concerned, three Pitaka: Sutta Pitak, Vinaya Pitak, and Abhidhamma Pitak. Sutta Pitak is the original teachings of the Buddha, Vinaya Pitak is the rules and regulations for the monks, and Abhidhamma Pitak is the philosophical interpretation of the Buddha's teaching. But then here only, I think in the last class I mentioned, Jatak Kathas would be the part of the Sutta Pitak. Okay? It is mentioned in one of the chapter of the Sutta Pitak, which is known as Khuddak Nikaya. Okay? Then come to the non-canonical literature. So non-canonical literature are associated with the other branches of the Buddhism, and so as the classical literature of the Buddhism. So for example, this non-canonical were written in both Pali and Sanskrit. Canonical sirf Pali mein, okay? But then non-canonical both Pali and Sanskrit. So let's talk about the Sanskrit books of the non-canonical. So Sanskrit books mein sabse important Lalit Vistar, which is the holy text of the Mahayana Buddhism. Then after Lalit Vistar, Mahavibhash, which is encyclopedia of the Buddhism, written by Vasumitra. कल क्लास में पूछा था मैंने, ठीक है? You remember? Vasumitra. कल ही बोला था ना? कल I think I asked you. So Vasumitra was the one who wrote the Mahavibhas, which is the encyclopedia of the Buddhism. And then comes the Buddha Charit, which was written by Ashwaghosh, that is biography of the Buddha. Then after this part, the Pali books of the non-canonical category. So it includes Mahavastu, which is the Mahavastu is the text of the Theravada Buddhism. Then Deepavams and Mahavams. These are the Pali chronicles of the Sri Lankan Buddhism. Okay? So Deepavams and Mahavams. And then we talked about Thairagatha and Therigatha. Thairagatha was written by the Buddhist monk, and Therigatha was written by the Buddhist nuns, or basically women. So Therigatha is the unique text of that time that was not only written by the women, but it was also attributed to the women. And it talks about the women's experience of the renunciation. Okay? Let's come to the Jain literature. So Jain literature was majorly composed during the Jain councils. But then, as far as the uniqueness of the Jain literature is concerned, so Jain literature, on the one hand, Hinduism and Buddhism and other religious traditions of India, they were mentioning their own doctrines. ये बाकी किसी के doctrines को mention नहीं कर रहे थे. But then Jainism, not only it wrote its own doctrine, but they also wrote the doctrines of the other sect. And that's how we were mentioning a little bit earlier that Ajivika writings and everything survived because of it, okay? Because of the Jainism. Then moreover, the Jain literature is also one of the most important initial source of the information about the Mahajanpad history. So it is the Bhagavati Sutra which mentions the Mahajanpad history. Then they are also important source of the history, of the dynastic history of the particularly Eastern India, all the dynasties which have ruled in the Eastern India. And as far as their literature is concerned, so it was mainly composed in the Prakrit language. So they were compiled during the two Buddhist councils. So in the first Buddhist council, 14 Purvas were written, and then after the separation between the Digambar Siddhant and Svetambar Siddhant. And in the second Jain council, Anga, Upanga, Prakirna, Chedab Sutra, Mool Sutra and Bhagavati Sutra, they all were compiled. But these all literature are in the Prakrit language. Then, so after the Prakrit, let's talk about the important portion which has been asked n number of the time in the exam, that is Tamil literature, or Tamil literature is called as Sangam literature. Okay? So Sangam literature, so it is the confluence of the writers, okay? Confluence of the poets and the poetess. So Sangam assemblies are the reason because of which the Sangam literature emerged. These assemblies were patronized by the Pandya rulers in and around Madurai. 3 Sangam assemblies happened. First was attended by the gods and Agastya Rishi, as they say, Agastya Rishi. But then nothing survived from the first Sangam assembly. Second assembly was attended by Agastya and Tolkapiyar. So only one book survived from the second assembly, that is Tolkapiyam, which is the Tamil grammar textbook. And all the books survived from the third Sangam assembly. So third Sangam assembly was attended by more than 370 poets and poetess, and basically more than 30 poetess were there in the third Sangam assembly. A word I haven't used in the classes, the entire literature of the third Sangam assembly is further categorized into 2 categories, Aham and Puram. Okay? So Aham and Puram. One is the objective poetry and another is the subjective poetry. Okay? So objective, subjective, samajhte ho? I hope you understand. Who better than you can understand? Where you are going in your own objectification on 16th of June, and then you will be subjectified in the October of that month of the September in mains. Okay? And then there would be summation of your objective subjectification in the interviews. Okay? So now, so Aham and Puram are like this. Then now let's look at the further subdivision. So 18 major book and 18 minor book, and 18 major book are called as Patinen Melkanaku. Minor books are called as Patinen Kilkanaku. Then major books are further subdivided into Itu Togai and part to part. Okay? So Itu Togai is the prose and part to part is the poems. Okay? But what is the theme of this Melkanaku or Patinen Melkanaku? So political expeditions of the Pandyas, their success, their glory. So that has been mentioned in the Patinen Melkanaku. And Patinen Kilkanaku, 18 minor text, no subdivision, and it is based on the ethical moral code of conduct. Then after the end of the assemblies, 2 epics of the Tamil language were written, that is Silapadikaram by Ilango Adigal, which is the love story of the Kovalam and Kannagi, but then a courtesan. Okay? So courtesan, now you know the meaning of the courtesan. Okay? And what is her name? Madhavi. Then, so Madhavi. Then after this, the Manimekalai, which was written by Sitalai Satanar, and it was based on the story of the daughter of the Kovalam and Madhavi, whose name was Manimekalai. Then the last important text is the Tirukural, written by Tiruvalluvar. And Tirukural is the most respected book in the Tamil, one of the most respected book in the Tamil culture. It is considered as a secular book. The book on witty quotations, practical quotes and quotations, highly that that there is a high wisdom in these words of the Tirukural, and which is often used as a guidance in the Tamil society. In fact, Tirukural is also used as a book of the witness or the oath in the Tamil courts and the Tamil assemblies. Then, so that's about the Tamil literature. The last discussion of language literature is the language Urdu. Urdu emerged in India. It is an Indian language. The influence is there from the India and outside also, but the birthplace is India. And original meaning of the Urdu is the camp, but it is not a camp language. Okay? It's a Persian word which means camp, but Urdu is not a camp language. It emerged in a wide expanse of area. So how it emerged? So it emerged due to the interaction of the Turkish speakers, Persian speakers, and so as the Indian speakers of the languages like Hindavi, Khadi Boli, and Sauraseni. Out of it, Sauraseni is a Prakrit language. You must remember. Then, so Sauraseni. Then what? That when we come to the structure of the Urdu, so vocab of the Urdu was based on the first four. And what is first four? So that is vocab is based on Turkish, Persian, and Hindavi and Khadi Boli. But the grammatical structure of the Urdu is based on the Sauraseni. Okay? Amir Khusro was the first person who started to write in Urdu. He started using Urdu for the literary purpose. But then, okay, it was the Golconda Kingdom which officially recognized Urdu as the official language for the first time. It is not Delhi Sultanate. Okay? So that's about the language part. Now I'm going with the last part, which is the Bhakti and Sufi. Okay? So this is what we have covered in the classes. This is what we are covering over here. So Bhakti and Sufi. As far as the Bhakti tradition is concerned. So Bhakti, the first text which mentions the concept of the Bhakti is the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Where Lord Krishna is mentioning the importance of the Bhakti to the Arjun. And where obviously Bhagavad Gita is the war literature in the war field itself. Okay? So there he has mentioned. Then after, it is in the Gupta age that the devotion concept is emphasized. And though the ritual sacrifices were very popular, but now Bhakti is also becoming popular in the Gupta age. And in fact, it is the Gupta rulers who started to talk about the importance of the devotion. But still, it hasn't become the movement. Okay? Movement बनने में अभी time है. It is in the 7th century AD, after the end of the Sangam assemblies. Two types of the saints emerged in the Tamil Nadu, Alvars and Nayanars. They are the one who started the Bhakti movement. And Alvars and Nayanars. Alvars were devotees of Lord Vishnu, who composed Tamil songs in praise of Lord Vishnu, known as Prabandham and Prabandha Kavyam. And Nayanars wrote that praise songs in the for the Lord Shiva, and these songs were known as the Tevaram and Tevakrams. And which language? Tamil language. So they popularized the Bhakti of the Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu in the southern India. Then after, this popularization continued for a long period. Then in the 10th century, by the beginning of the 11th century AD, just after the end of the 10th century and beginning of the 11th century, the most famous saint, about whom we talked about, Ramanujacharya of Srirangam. Then, so he is the one who gave this particular philosophy of the Visishta Advaitavad, in which he emphasized on the Bhakti. And then many of the disciples during his lifetime and many of his followers after his death, then they popularized the Bhakti movement in the different parts of India. In fact, some of his followers, they came to the Kasi, Banaras, these all places then, and they are popularizing the Bhakti movement. Meanwhile, we are going ahead with the Bhakti movement journey from the south, so slowly we'll be traversing. Let's come to the Karnataka. Okay? Kalhi, so Lingayat and Veera Saiva movement. So the founder of the Lingayat and Veera Saiva movement was the Basaveswar or Baswana. Last day, Kal. It was his birth anniversary. Okay? Baswana's Jayanti was there last day. Okay? Kal kya date tha? 10th. Okay? The 10th of May ko. So Baswana, so what is this tradition? They believed that Lord Shiva is the ultimate reality. No other god, but only Lord Shiva. And they believe that at the time of the death, body gets reunited with the Lord Shiva. They don't follow crematory practices, but then they follow burial practices after the death. Then it is a very progressive movement. So it was a very progressive movement which included people from all caste, creed, gender into their cadre. and they also talked about the progressive things like end of the caste discrimination, upliftment of the women and the backwards, widow remarriage, post-puberty marriage. So this is what they are talking about. Their progressiveness does not stops over here, but इबादत खाना हमने पहले डिस्कस किया, but actually there is a precursor to the इबादत खाना, and that is the अनुभव मंतप of the Basaveswara or Basavana. So what is this अनुभव मंतप? People from all the faith and all the philosophy, all the different kind of views, they were invited and respectfully they were debating with each other, discussing, deliberating and debating with each other. Even they were disagreeing with each other very respectfully. So that was the Anubhav Mantap. Then their writings are known as Vachanas, which were written in the Kannada language. And the wandering monks of the Lingayatas are known as Jangamas. Okay? Then Lingayatas, now they are very strong community in Karnataka. 26% population of the Karnataka is the Lingayat community. So politically also they are very powerful people. But then let's come to the Maharashtra. 14th century, say 15th century, 16th century was the phase of the Maharashtra Bhakti. The initial saints were Sant Gyaneshwar, then followed by Namadev, and then the Tukaram also. But then what they have founded? The holy city of the Pandharpur, okay, on the banks of river Chandrabhaga. And then the temple of the Lord Vitthal or Vithoba. Who is Lord Vitthal? Lord Vishnu. And then the celebration of the Lord Vishnu is considered as, is called as Vari Varkari of the Pandharpur. Then, so they initiated a new change, that they started to write the religious literature not only in Sanskrit in the beginning, but later on in Marathi language also. And they contributed a lot towards the spread of the Marathi language. Then after the Bhakti movement comes to the north. In north, there are two divisions. So by the 14th, 15th century, the crystal clear division is there, Saguna Bhakti, Nirguna Bhakti, by 15th century exactly. So Nirguna Bhakti, the major exponents of the Nirguna Bhakti, Guru Nanak and Kabir. So they believed that God is Nirakar, without any shape, without any form. God is without any shape, without any form. And then to them, God cannot reincarnate, and they did not believe in the idol worship. On the other hand, Sagun Bhakti, like Goswami Tulsidas, Surdas, Mirabai, Sankar Dev, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabhacharya, Nimbark. So these were the saints associated with the Sagun Bhakti. They believed in the particular shape and form of the physical attribute of the God, and to them, God can reincarnate, and they started the worship practice also of the idols. Then, so this is what is the Nirguna and Saguna Bhakti. And then let's come to the, so this is the part of the Bhakti, but the most important contribution of the Bhakti movement, not only they are popularizing the regional literature, regional languages of India, but they also upheld the reforms in the society, and their movement was often secular in nature. Though the devotion, secular I would not say, that secular bolna galat hoga, they never tried to communalize the environment, but they always favored the harmony in the society, and they called for respect towards all the religions. Then after, they are also progressive in nature. Then comes the Sufi movement. So Sufi movement did not originated in India. It originated in the Middle East. Generally, all the books they refer ki 11th century AD. Actually, it is not 11th century AD. Actually, Sufi movement started from the 8th century AD itself. And it was all based on the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. But then it gained momentum from the 10th century AD. So how it emerged? It emerged as a response to the hardliner theologians of the Islam, who were giving their own dogmatic explanations, and their own scholastic method. So now, Sufism emerged as the simplification for the Islam. So they incorporated the concept of the meditation, and rhythmic union with the God, and the guidance with the God himself rather than any gurus or any Maulvis or ulemas. Then Sufism, why the name is given? Because to separate themselves from the other, they were always wearing some sort of woolen cloth, which is suf. So that's how Sufism. Then Sufis organized themselves in various silsilas, orders. So जैसे बुद्धिज्म में हम संघ बोलते हैं, यहाँ पे it is called as silsila. Then, so they organize themselves in the many silsilas, and many such silsilas came to India. So in these silsilas, okay, the most important silsila was the Chistiya silsila in India. So each of the Chistiyas, each of the silsila will be having a guru and then disciples. So gurus are often referred as the Sheikh, Murshid, okay, then Peer, then Khwaja. So these are the names which are given to the guru, and generally the disciples are called as Murid. And the habitation of the Sufis are called as Khanka. Is called as Khanka. So now let's talk about the Chistiya silsila. The first important saint of the Chistiya silsila in India, Sheikh Mainuddin Chisti of Ajmer. So he was often called as Garib Nawaz. He was very sympathetic, empathetic to the cause of the poor, and for the poor, he was always collecting the money, distributing among them, and so as he also started the community food services, which later on in Sikhism was incorporated and called as Langar. Then the next saint was the Fariduddin Ganje Sakar of the Farid court in the Punjab part, and he was popularly known as Baba Farid. Baba Farid was known for his intense meditations. Okay? In fact, as per the legends, it is said that 40 days he was going into the meditation without eating a single thing. Okay? Then Baba Farid teachings were also incorporated into the Sikhism, particularly in Adi Granth, some of his teachings are mentioned. Then comes the next important saint of the Delhi from the Chistiya Silsila was Nizamuddin Aulia. So Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia, whose political rivalry with the Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq is not hidden. It is Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq who was on the errant side, meaning that he is the one who threatened Nizamuddin Aulia to vacate the Gyaspur area, which is now known as the Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia Dargah. Okay? So to vacate this area and submit all the money that he has. But then he made a prophecy that Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq will never be able to rule Delhi, and that proved to be true. When he was returning back from the Bengal, he died just before Delhi. So it is also said about him that he saw the rule of the 7 sultans of Delhi but never paid any visit to them. Okay? Amir Khusro was the favorite disciple of the Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, and on the day of the death of the Hazrat Nizamuddin, he also died. And he is who? Amir Khusro. Then let's come to the very famous Sufi saint, another famous Sufi saint of Delhi, Nasiruddin Chirag. And Nasiruddin Chirag was popularly known as Chirag Delhi. I have told you one story. Once again, I'm telling the story. He was known for his intense meditation. And it is said that he was one of the Sufi saint who is, if the seeking prayers for the others also. So it was so intense that often his prayers proved to be true. So for example, that one story I told you, that in one such instance, he was offering namaz, he was offering prayers to the God, and then someone came and who stabbed in his stomach many times, 7-8 times. And then after even this has happened, he did not leave the namaz, he did not stop the namaz, he continued his prayers, and then after the prayers are over, he asked to the person that you please escape from this particular place. This is the way that you can be escaping. Otherwise, people, if they find you that you have stabbed, so then they will kill you. Save your life. So he was so forgiving even in the death situation also. Though he did not die, he survived, but then this is how he was. So it was the story of the Nasiruddin Chirag, and after him, the Chirag Delhi is named in the Delhi. Then comes another silsila which was popular in India, Suhrawadi silsila. But then for a very shorter period of time, that is in the Delhi Sultanate period of time. So the founder of the Suhrawadi silsila was Sheikh Bahauddin Zakaria. But then the Suhrawadi silsila accepted office position in the Delhi Sultanate. And moreover, they were taking the payments from the Delhi Sultanate also. So Iltutmish gave him the title of the Sheikhul Islam. But were they only the 2 silsilas in India? Iske alawa bhi there were many silsilas which has come to India time and again, but none of them became too influential. So for example, Naqshbandiya were popular at the time of the Babur. Then other silsilas were Naqshbandiya ke alawa, Kubraiya, okay? Then uske alawa Malang, Haidari and Kalandar. So out of these last names which I am mentioning, who are most famous? Kalandars. Okay? And Kalandars are the one who are often associated with the music and the dance. And in fact, you must have heard one very famous song which was originally sung by the Runa Laila, okay? Damadam Mast Kalandar. Okay? So it's actually the song dedicated to the Kalandars. And then basically it is all about that, this song is all about the Poshak of the Kalandar Shah. Okay? And Poshak is basically in the red color. So that's what is depicted in this song, and now it has become a cult song. I hope you know. So this is what is all about these all quick revision things. It has happened in a rapid manner. So जितनी रैपिडिटी के साथ ये क्लासेस हुई हैं, उतनी रैपिडिटी के साथ लोग यहाँ से गायब हुए हैं. So but anyways, I thank you for your patience, and then actually it was all meant for you. So use करो और इसी रैपिड तरीके से ही रिविजन करो एटलीस्ट, ठीक है. तो दैट्स हाउ, मतलब things would be in your favor because so many things are there to revise. I can understand because I was in your shoes once upon a time. So I have felt prelims का pressure, I will say that कि हमेशा सबसे ज़्यादा होता था. Though मतलब no matter who clears every year gets very good marks, but then pressure is always more of the prelims. And you must have seen with the sharing of the toppers itself कि बहुत बार लोग पहली अटेम्प्ट में इंटरव्यू तक जाते हैं, दूसरे में फ्लंग हो गए, ठीक है, मतलब प्रीलिम्स में ही खत्म हो गया. सो वन मिस्टेक यू मस्ट नॉट डू, सी सेट को लाइटली मत लेना. टॉपर्स के मार्क्स देख लो, ऑलरेडी आए हुए हैं. किसी के भी मार्क्स इतने सी सेट में अच्छे नहीं हैं, ठीक है, और सम पीपल आर वेरी क्लोजर टू 69, कोई 70, कोई 76. इट्स नॉट अ गुड मार्क्स, ठीक है. तो सी सेट को लाइटली मत लेना. एंड एक्चुअली वाई द जीएस कट ऑफ इज लो, इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द सी सेट. If CSET would be not difficult, GS cutoff will go high. So CSET difficult है, इसीलिए GS का cutoff low है. तो mock test, as you know, कि mock test, once again I am saying कि mock test अब जो भी बचा है, कम mock test, जैसे कल अभ्यास है, you must give अभ्यास, you must not skip अभ्यास. This is the test you need to give, ठीक है. And then 4-5 full length test you give, जैसा भी decide कर लो. उसके बाद then don't give so many tests. In last 15 years you are not giving any test. If you want to try any test, CSET करना. लास्ट के 15 दिन में CSET कर सकते हो, करना भी चाहिए, but then GS का पार्ट छोड़ देना, क्योंकि if your marks will go down, it will take away your confidence. Personal experience के साथ बोल रहा हूँ. I have seen people, ठीक है. I have seen a guy, I have seen many people actually, ठीक है, that कि बहुत सारे institutes जो लोग all India test series and all that they were कराते थे. So I remember that one guy, he was always there in that particular All India Test Series, and then All India Test Series में कितने number आते थे? Out of 200 he was getting 42, 52, 46, and whenever the UPSC exams were there, he never got less than 130. How come it is possible? So then, देखो, blaming yourself on the basis of the test of the organization institutions is not right. See, what is important, you know कि where you stand in your preparation, how much you have studied. Have you done the justice to your revisions? That is important. It is not the test series के results. उससे कुछ obviously फायदा होता है, but then उसकी वजह से confidence नीचे ले जाना is actually not, it must not be there. तो चलो, with these words, I'm ending the class, and I think it was the last class from my side for you all. So there is one more way, since people are from the different batches. चलो, thank you and all the best to all of you. And I pray God कि सब इस बार तुम लोग क्लियर करो एग्जाम. यहाँ पे दिल्ली में इतना टाइम वेस्ट करने का मतलब नहीं है, ठीक है. चलो, थैंक यू.